The Marcia Weekes Show. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. Talk truth, build roots, stories unfold. Motivate change, mobilize is the mode. That's the MR code. Hey! We growing, we know it.
Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Marcia Weekes Show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados. This is the national flag of Barbados, and you just heard the national anthem of Barbados. It is a beautiful, beautiful night. It is a Monday, April the 20th, 7:04 p.m., and we have business. We have business to discuss. We have work to do. We have a lot to do for our country, Barbados. And we have a lot to do right here in the Caribbean, because this evening we are going to touch on some Caribbean issues. We have Umar Abdullah from Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight he is going to talk about a security breach at the police station in San Fernando in Trinidad and Tobago, where a policewoman was shot and killed. And ammunition, like thousands of ammunition was stolen, still connected to crime. We don't even know if some of that ammunition is going to end up right here in Barbados. Oh my goodness. We're also going to speak with Zika John. And Zika John has been doing an amazing work with the young people in Barbados, with a lot of young men in prison and outside of prison. And so with the state of our young men in Barbados, we've asked him to come on tonight, and he's going to share with us some of what he's been doing in Barbados and his view on what needs to be done with our young men as it relates to the killings last night, Sunday night. We saw 3 of our strong young men were killed, were shot and killed. And there are others in the hospital who are injured. We send out condolences to all of the family members of those who were killed last night. It was last week, Wednesday, that we lost 3 young men as well. One was shot and killed, the aspiring lawyer. There was another young man, seemed to have been a wonderful father there in Britain's Hill, and he committed suicide. And another young man, hard at work, was crushed by a piece of equipment at his job. This is a hard time for our young people and our young men in Barbados. And I believe that we really need to come together and do something. What can we do as individuals, as families, as community, and as the nation? I think it is very, very important that we do that. But let me go right in and just start to welcome those of you who have joined already. Somebody called themselves corrupt leaders. Yes. Another bloodshed, 4 shot, 3 dead. Wow. Yes. Good night, Cedric. Good night, Lucinda. Good night, Queen D46. Judy Jukes, good night. How are you? Sherry Johnson, good night. Calendar, good night. Bajan Boy, good night. Ronald Archer, how are you doing? Matthew B, keep up the good work, Matthew B. We've got some good men out there. Hi, Teroni. How are you doing, Teroni? I hope you had a great day today. Annette Brewster. And Lori, I didn't see you call me today, Lori, 236-7000. Give me a call, please. Not now, but tomorrow. Sylvia Rock, how are you? Sherry Berry, good evening. I'm a big girl. Good evening, I'm a big girl. Hey, Shirley. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Celia Mason, good evening. Jack Murphy, how are you? Mavis, how is Mavis doing? And Dalton, I have not seen you in a long time. We haven't had any roadside. We haven't had any marches. So we don't get to see each other. Joyanne, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Beverly Perscott, good evening. Shirley from Toronto. Yes, that was a horrible incident in Trinidad, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Marcia Miller, how you doing? My fellow Filipino. Okay, wonderful, 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 wonderful. Well, our topic for tonight is red and not ready. How many of you know that that is the case? That is the case in Barbados right now. Red and not ready. As we talk about crime, labor, and regional warning signs. All right. Yes. All right. Now I am going to ask you guys before I get into the on the radar topics. I'm going to kindly ask you guys to share. Please like and share. Please like and share. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Everybody, share it in your WhatsApp groups. Put it in your WhatsApp groups. Share it on your Facebook pages. All right. Yes. Are we sharing? Are we liking? Yes, I'm a big girl. Said they're red and ready for more devastating actions. Nothing else. Correct. Red and bloody. Yes. Yes. All right. So let's jump into our on the radar tonight. Okay. Tonight we are looking at the new Minister of Culture, the junior minister in the Prime Minister's office, right? We're gonna take a look at what he's doing now. What I realize is that with these people, they believe that they need to be on the world stage. All right. It seems to me that this young man, Senator Shane Archer, has decided that that he's going to walk in the footsteps of Mia Mottley. Yeah. And so he's there at the UN and he's giving these big speech. But my question tonight, I don't know if Davis found it and can put it up thank you, on the screen. And it says, on the radar, big words, but what about youth? So one of the things he says, he said that small states like Barbados should not just follow outdated development models. And so this is Shane Archer. Let me set it up properly. He was speaking at the United Nations Economic and Social Council Youth Forum, a whole mouthful. And this is in New York. Small states like Barbados should not just follow outdated development models. We should help shape the future of global development, he says. Now, that sounds powerful. It sounds visionary. It sounds like leadership. Yeah? But here's a question. This is a question that I saw people online asking. Young people are asking Shane Archer. Shane Archer, what does that mean for me? Seem like a whole set of word salad, right? Because the truth is that while you have now joined your prime minister in shaping these global conversations, you have now joined in with the prime minister. That is a bad. She's showing you a bad example. I know you are in her office. But young man, you are learning, you are picking up bad habits. So you have joined her in these global conversations while the young people here in Barbados are asking, where are the jobs? Where are the real opportunities? Why is cost of living still rising? And why does the future still feel uncertain? So the minister is saying on the global stage, he's arguing that Barbados should not just copy big countries, but use innovation, technology, and new ideas to create our own path. That is a long-term vision. And we understand that. But here's the problem. You could have all the vision in the world, but without execution, that's empty talk. And so you will be just like your leader. Somebody needs to pull this young man aside and say to him, listen, young man, it's not about speeches. Traveling all around the world on taxpayers' money and giving these global empty speeches without any execution. Just vision and vision and vision. Senator Shane Archer, please understand, you're trying to shape the future globally. That's one thing. But developing opportunity locally, do the work is another. So I have some real questions for you tonight. What industries are we building right now for young people? Don't come with this futuristic thing. I am asking you right now, what industry are you building right now for young people? What skills are being developed today? Today, not tomorrow. Where are the pathways from school to income? If I had 100 young people on here tonight, they would be asking these questions. How does this global vision translate into real jobs? Cha-ching, cha-ching. Real businesses, real ownership right here in Barbados. Because the youth in Barbados, they're not asking to sit at, global tables. They're not trying to sit at these tables. They're basically asking for a seat at this economic table here at home. So here we go again. Big speeches on big stages must lead to results, real results for real people. Barbadian youths need to feel it. They should already be feeling it. And not you coming with this word salad and pie in the sky following your prime minister. We are tired of that. Somebody needs to pull him aside and let him know we will support you, and we will go all the way for you if you're going to focus at home. We're not impressed. You can go and check the comments online. Nobody's impressed with any traveling and speaking to Barbados from in New York. Yes? Now we move on. Another topic on the radar, the hospital question. Who really owns the future? We saw something happen in the Bahamas. And tonight we want to look at what happened in the Bahamas, not necessarily to criticize, but to learn from them. Because we have an issue here with a real problem. We have a serious health problem in Barbados. And we're told about some a hospital project, a new hospital project that is supposed to be coming on the scene, right? So let's talk about Bahamas. Let me not jump ahead of myself. In Bahamas, there is a growing concern over a new hospital project there. And this project was financed and constructed by the Chinese with a heavy Chinese involvement, right? Now, there have been Chinese involvement in Barbados. There was Chinese involvement in the hotel that's close to me here, Sam Lords, and Chinese development. We hear that they're going to be building the stadium and so on. And we have to keep our eyes on that, especially after you hear what I'm going to talk about here. So countries need development, and hospitals are critical. We definitely need partnerships, and a lot of times, for us to be able to get some of these things down. But the issue in the Bahamas is not the hospital, It's not the construction of the hospital. It is the terms. Where have we heard that before? You remember all those places in Africa? And it's happening right here in the Caribbean. China. The terms. And this is nothing against them getting a hospital and China building a hospital. What we're talking about is the terms, because I know some of you love China. So reports have raised question about foreign financing structures, foreign contractors, and most critically, which country's law govern the agreement? And that last one matters, right? Which country's law govern the agreement? Because when disputes arise, as they would, in for any large projects, the question becomes who has the final say and where is that decision made? So let's bring it home to Barbados. And you must remember that we did this on the show when that time comes, because here in Barbados, we're also entering into a major expansion. They promise the red and not ready crew of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital with financing arrangements involving a Chinese company. We are aware it's not a grant. We are aware it's not a gift. It's a financing deal. And that matters. It's a deal. So the terms matter. So tonight we must ask very calmly ahead of time, because I said at the beginning, we're learning from Bahamas. What exactly are the terms of this agreement? We're asking that of our government. Is this a loan, supplier credit, or something else? What is this? Which country's laws govern it? Don't forget, we would have asked these questions Monday, April 20th. And I know the government watches the show. If there's a dispute, where do we go? Barbados courts or elsewhere? Who is building it? And how much of that work stays in Barbadian hands? I don't think we need to wait to ask that, wait on that, because we look around and we see the people that working on these big projects. Most of them don't look like us or sound like us. How much of this money circulates back into our economy? And most importantly, will the full agreement be made public? Why am I fooling myself even asking this government about making a full agreement public when they are as transparent as mud? This is not about China. This is not about any politics. We're talking about our sovereignty, right? We're talking about transparency and accountability. We're not going to wait until there's a problem to then decide that we're going to ask the right questions. We have a right to development and all that, right? But that's important, that we understand the cost of that development, not just in dollars, but also in control. Don't forget that we raised this on the radar April the 20th, because I believe it's going to come up again as we seek to raise this alarm. All right. Now, the final thing that I want to we want to talk about is a school opening tomorrow. But are we ready? We need to ask the red and ready crew, will the schools be ready tomorrow? Who remembered every time, you remember when they walked through the school and said, oh, the schools are ready. And by probably the second day, you hear that the rats chasing the children around the school and it's not sports day. Schools begin tomorrow morning. Are our schools truly ready for our children? We have heard the concerns before: environmental issues, sanitation, maintenance. Yes. And today I have been told that there's a particular school at Leicester School where there are so many cats moving around the school compound, all inside the classroom. And and once you have that many cats, a picture was sent to me, then we know they're rodents. So, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw it, I said, well, the cats might be helping. But you know that there are some children who are allergic to cats. So it can become a public health and safety issue. When a child is allergic to cats, what happened? A child is scratched or bitten. There are droppings, fleas, or contamination on the school grounds. What happens? And when does it say, what does it say really about the presence of rats in that same environment? We already know. We already know. So, to the big man, he called himself the big man. The big man that says go big or go home. You have been going small. Big man, you've been going small. Just remember that. And so we are coming here tonight to ask you the big question. Are the schools ready? Mr. Ready, Mr. Red and not ready. Are the schools ready? Have all the schools been inspected and certified safe for reopening? What is the status of the long-standing concerns like the Wesley Hall Primary School? What has happened to that? Anybody knows? Have environmental issues been fully restored, or they're just simply quieted because the children are not there? We have to remember that parents are sending their children not just into an environment, into a building, but into environments. And those environments need to be clean. They need to be safe. They need to be monitored and accountable. So we are asking these questions before an incident happens. So we don't want to wait till a child gets sick. School readiness. School readiness is not just about the books and the uniforms, you know. And I can't, for the life of me, I can't understand, especially when you have an entire summer. How do you go and you walk around, you check the schools? Do you do that? Do you leave your office and go and check? Because I cannot understand how you could report the schools are ready. The children go to school the first morning, and by the second morning, they can't go back. Every child in Barbados deserves to walk into a school that is ready for them. How many of you agree with that? Every child in Barbados deserves to walk into a school that is ready for them. And I'm not sure if these people realize that. And it's just we gave them, it's just months after February 11th. They're been put in power, this minority government, and we're not seeing what they told us that they're red and ready, and we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it. But we're going to we are going to, what we're going to do, guys, we're going to go right over to Trinidad right now. Trinidad, listen. Last week we had Trinidad on as well. Senator Nakid was on with us, and this week we have with us in our studio Mr. Umar Abdullah, a very, very good friend of mine. Let me welcome him. Welcome, Umar. Good to see you again. You are muted. You're muted.
Right. Are you hearing me now? Right. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
My pleasure to be with you, Marcia Weekes. My pleasure. Always a pleasure. I want to say a pleasant good night to all your viewers, everyone who's looking on. And, I hope I do justice to your program tonight.
Yes, well, always. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And I will not forget being with you guys in Trinidad a couple years ago, could be about 4 years ago, I think. and the warm hospitality. And you guys had me on protests and all kinds of things over there. Not that I minded,
Those
because
were the
I
days.
like
Those were the good old days.
the good old days. Take me to Savannah and eating the chicken foot, the pickled chicken foot, and all kinds of, oh my goodness. Well, people are saying welcome, Umar, welcome, Umar. So, Umar, we were over here trying to mind our own business, because I don't know if you're aware, we had four persons shot last night, 3 dead. 3 of our young men are dead. And so while we were minding that, we then saw this whole thing was happening in Trinidad. These are the 3 strong young men who are now not with us anymore. And but in Trinidad, you were having a major security breach there in San Fernando. Can you tell us about that at your police headquarters? Tell us about that, please.
Well, first of all, it's very difficult to mind your own business in the Caribbean region, as you know. Just last night, we had four mothers as well, and last night three adults and 1 child in Trinidad and Mova. So that added to everything else. It's a lot of noise. But let me just give you the official government's position as regards to this issue. All right, and I'll take you through the entire thing.
Take us through what happened. Yes.
Well, basically, let me touch on what's the government's position, because I think that's important. So the government's position, the Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisasa, she has described the incident where this police officer was killed inside of a police station. Well, the municipal police, they have their own divisions, and she was working in that division in South Trinidad, and she was murdered, and the entire cash, arms that was housed there in that department was extracted and transported off the compound, allegedly by marked police vehicles. So the official government position is the Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisasa described the incident as an internal betrayal. She, of course, rejected the need for a curfew. There was a call for curfew and heightened emergency measures. She rejected that, and she went on to emphasize this was no external attack on the state. As she said, it was an internal betrayal. The position of law enforcement, the Commissioner of Police, Alistair Guevara, he called it a one-off situation. This is the Commissioner of Police of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to remind the Bayesian viewers tonight and the rest of the Caribbean and all those who are viewing, we are in a state of emergency here in Trinidad and Tobago presently. So in the midst of a state of emergency, this is what took place. All right. And as I go on, I will amplify how important this is with respect to understanding our state of affairs in Trinidad and Tobago. So the commissioner called it a one-off situation. He has stated that the security apparatus in Trinidad and Tobago remains strong. Okay, so he's alluding that it was strong at the time when police officers, our own police officers, went into the division, shot the female officer, and run away with all the guns and ammo. All right, so he's saying that the security apparatus remains strong, and of course he confirmed the murder of the acting corporal Anusha Eversley, and the theft of the large cache of weapons and ammunition. He went on to deploy multiple elite units to investigate this matter. CID, HBI, IATF, MOPS, etc. The entire array of security divisions that we have. Now, according to media, of course, they would get these releases from the police. Of course, it was confirmed that the officer was killed inside of a secure compound. And I want to stress, in a state of emergency, this officer was shot inside of a secure compound. All right. 60 firearms was stolen. 4,000 rounds of ammunition was stolen. A municipal police officer was detained early in the investigations, and it is reported that a police vehicle allegedly was used in the escort of these stolen weapons. Now, there was targeted operations in the crime hotspots, example, C-lots and so on, multiple coordinated raids. As a result of that, 6 persons was detained, 2 municipal police officers, 2 women, 2 men. Now, I just want to clarify this here. The municipal police are attached to the different regions in Trinidad and Tobago, as we would call it, the different boroughs. All right, and they are attached to the borough of San Fernando. We have the municipal police attached to the Shogunas borough, and so on and so forth. All right. So there was a partial recovery of 20 of these guns and 600 rounds of ammunition. All right, and these are Glock pistols we're talking about. So the remaining 40 pistols, Glock pistols, continues to be at large, and 3,400 rounds of ammunition continues to be at large. Now, Gary Griffith, one of our past commissioners, got into he often would get into the habit of responding to some of these issues as it relates to national security, and he identified it being as a structural flaw in our security apparatus.
Yeah.
And he made the point that the municipal police operates as a parallel police organization in Trinidad and Tobago, as I've just described. He, of course, highlighted, weak oversight, lack of integration with the TTPS, duplication of roles, and gaps in training and psychological screening. All right. So before police officers are enrolled into the police service in Trinidad and Tobago, in the municipal police apparatus in Trinidad and Tobago, and so on, they have to go through certain, regulatory screening and so on and so forth. And this is obviously vetted, and persons would sign off on the acceptance of these persons within the police apparatus, within the security apparatus of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, this incident took place at 4:40 a.m. in the morning. Of course, like I said, it's Acting Corporal Anusha Eversley was found murdered inside the police station. Immediately on this, they discovered that the vault was breached. Dozens of firearms, thousands of rounds of ammunition was missing. On the very same day, an officer was detained in the incident. And of course, it was noted that vehicles were used, police vehicles was used to transport these guns and these ammo out of the compound. There was night operations, intelligence-led raids across South Trinidad, search for the weapons in the criminal zones and so on. And within 24 hours, like I said, 6 suspects was in custody, a partial recovery of the weapons and ammunition, and investigation is ongoing. Now, let me get to the more important part of this whole scenario, all right? Because after I've analyzed this entire situation, I've come to the understanding that this is not simply a moral failure. It reflects an operational compromise, systemic vulnerability, and penetration of law enforcement by criminal networks And I want to repeat that. Penetration of law enforcement by criminal networks, because there has to be some
Let me ask
collusion
you.
with
Let me ask
criminal
you.
networks for
So
something like
let me
this to be
ask you
pulled off.
something.
Yeah.
A question for you, Mr. Abdullah. So you are saying that you do not believe, it might sound funny to say this, that the police acted alone. You believe that there's a collusion between the police and criminal networks in securing what's it, 4,000 rounds of ammunition, 52 Glock pistols, 6 shotguns. You believe that it's a collusion between the police and external criminal elements?
Well, yes. It's obvious. What were they going to do with these weapons?
That's the question.
Even if they were going to dispose of it by way of sale, or transport it to another island, out of Trinidad and Tobago, have it available for other networks in the region, and so on and so forth. We have to keep in mind, in today's world, when we say criminal networks, these also include our security apparatus within the region. It also includes political entities as well. All right, so this could be as wide as you can imagine. All right, and so what's alarming here is the fact that in a state of emergency, official speakers was used in this particular instance. An internal knowledge of the vault access and so on, that was also known, and the timing. At what time, you can deploy such a, elaborate plan, all right, to go into this secured facility and so on and do what you did. So it indicated that there was planning, there was coordination, and also there was insider facilitation, meaning to say that someone from the inside, or who knows about the operations and all the information regarding the stash of guns and ammunition, was revealed to persons who obviously was interested in committing this horrendous crime. All right. Now, we have to also look at the critical questions of why was such a large cache of weapons and ammunition stored at this municipal police station. And as I said, the municipal police station is not part of the central networking of the TTPS. All right, this is a municipal police station that is attached to the regional corporation in San Fernando. And why? One would tend to believe that this amount of this stash, you'd find it at a police station, all right, at the central police station or the central precinct or police station in the vicinity, or as the case may be, because we have the San Fernando police station that's not too far away, and they are more equipped, I would say, more populated with police officers. So it would be more difficult to go into these police stations to pull off an act like this. This was one person working, all right, and this large stash of weapons and ammunition. It begs the question: is this normally, what happens at this particular facility? And where were the inventory controls, the dual authentication systems, and who work in the military and the police service and the security services and so on would understand, double authentications and so on, audit logs and all these things. So it suggests that there's a weak chain in the custody of protocols. All right. Yeah. So there's also a lack of real-time monitoring as well, because for this incident to happen, we need to go inside a police station, kill a police officer, make off with all. 60 Glock pistols is not an easy. It's not an easy task to put these guns together and all this ammunition together. You need time to do all of that.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So the question is that normal that she was alone, the police? Because as you said, real time supervision. So you're saying that she was alone, and is that normal?
Well, you see that's another thing, because I'm looking at all the reports, and I understand that in one report it was said that her brother was shot and killed violently last year around the same time, and it begs the question: do we need to connect some dots here? Do we need to connect some dots with respect to what her brother was involved in? Is it possible to say, or is it prudent to say, that she perhaps was involved in similar activities? We don't know. Why was she alone? Was this a whole setup? Was this orchestrated? Was she part of this whole operation and something went wrong and they had to get rid of her? A lot of questions remain unanswered. You understand? So when we break down the basic security layers, all right, we see there is there should have been a more controlled access to this police division. There should have been more surveillance, and there should have been some immediate response triggers and so on. Instead, we have an officer killed in the middle of an SOE, weapons removed undetected in an SOE, vehicles deployed without interception in an SOE. This is a total collapse of a multi-layered security system, right? It's a collapse, right?
Okay.
And for you, as the Prime Minister, to come out and say it's an internal betrayal, I mean, I don't understand that. Is either you're playing politics or you're trying to be politically correct or something like that, and then go over the nation himself is saying this is a thing, all right, as if to downplay it and say, well, okay, we jump here, but come on, 60 Glock pistols we're talking about, 60 Glock pistols and 4,000 rounds of ammunition, 3,600 of which is still out there on the streets. 400, I think they recovered 600. I can't remember the number. And 40 Glocks are still out there on the streets. Are these weapons in criminal hands? Are we going to see? An escalation of criminal, thing here in Trinidad and Tobago? What is really happening? When we look at it we look at it from an evaluation perspective, we see that how there's financial vulnerability, criminal association, coercion and collusion, right? Does this system really vet officers and vet their own officers who are working? So they, from time to time you have to vet officers, because officers do at time to time become they're compromised. All right.
But
so they start off good,
and then
question
for you. I have another question for you,
yeah.
sir. I'm listening to you, and I have to ask. I mean, have you had anything on at any scale, any similar to this before in Trinidad?
Well, there was an incident at the Shoguanas police station recently where drugs went missing, and they found blocks of wood, instead of the drugs when they went to look for the drugs.
How long ago
that was recent. That was just a couple weeks ago. And we were also in an SOE when that took place. There has not been no positive reporting from the TTPS as regards to where the drugs went or if anybody was held accountable, etc., etc. I think investigations are still ongoing as regards to that. All right. So, continuously we see breaches like this take place within our security apparatus in Trinidad and Tobago, where huge amount of drugs go missing, and the explanation is rats went with it. All right. So this is basically somebody's explanation.
The rats took the drugs, but I tell you, time is going so fast. Oh my goodness, we only have about 3 more minutes. But let me ask you something. Give me the what's happening on the ground in Trinidad. What's it like? What are people thinking? What's the society feeling as a result
Well,
of what occurred?
to answer that question, I have to first explain, in a state of emergency, the police does have extended powers. Their surveillance are heightened, and enforcement is intensified. All right, and even though that is so, a police station was breached, an officer was executed, and the cache of weapons was removed from that. So this exposes a false sense of control. So the security apparatus in this country, as is viewed by many in the public, there's this false sense of control, and people see it and people recognize it because they're unsafe. Just last night, 4 persons were killed, 1 child, 3 adults. Just a couple of days ago, 2 persons were killed down in Edinburgh 500, and a child was actually in a car waiting for the mother to come back to the vehicle, and she was killed along with another one of our soldiers in the Trinidad and Tobago regiment. There's also this regiment. He had a brother who was killed just a month ago, a couple of weeks ago as well. So as I'm saying again, do we really need to connect some dots here? All right, what's really happening in Trinidad and Tobago? And all this is happening in SC. All right, we have. Are we going to see an escalation of increased gang firepower, violent crime, escalation of violent crime, and a direct threat to the civilians? We have so many guns out there on the streets now. All right. So I just want to end by making this statement, and this obviously is not just my concern; it's the concern of every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, as you have asked the question. All right. So what we're witnessing here is not an isolated incident, as the Commissioner of Police would have indicated. It is a systemic indictment against the state's security architecture, and everyone in Trinidad and Tobago believes that. A police officer has been executed inside a secured compound. Dozens of firearms have been extracted from the state-controlled armory during a state of emergency, when the state is supposed to be at its strongest. As the Commissioner have said, they continue to be strong. This obviously was not an external attack, as the Prime Minister would have indicated. This was an internal collapse. And I say call a spade a spade. When the state cannot secure its own facilities, cannot protect its own officers, and cannot control its own weapons, it cannot credibly assure the safety of the population. And we are all on point with that. The deeper issue is structural. Fragmented policing, weak oversight of the municipal units, absence of continuous vetting. Like I said, that has to be a continuous process, and failures in armory management. This is not about panic. This is about accountability, reform, and restoring integrity to national security. Yeah. So we have to reject at all costs this one-off narrative that has been pushed by the Commissioner of Police, and we have to call it for what it is. It's a pattern of systemic weakness, right? We have to shift focus now from crime events, right? So all these murders that we see taking place, all these crimes that we see taking place, we have to shift focus from that now and focus on our institutional failures. That is what we have to be focusing on. And I think if we strengthen our institutions, we may perhaps be able to tackle crime in a real way.
Definitely right? Be one of the ways that we tackle crime. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is
what?
Go Go right ahead. Make your final point, and we.
Yeah. So my final point is that, you know, we have to demand a unified policing command structure. We have to demand independent audit of all armory nationwide now that this has happened. A continuous vetting of officers. We have to insist that this happens because officers are committing. Well, just recently we had officers being arrested for kidnapping in Trinidad and Tobago. So you're not holding so-called, you know, normal, you know, gang member or criminal element for kidnapping in Trinidad and Tobago. You're holding police officers. All right.
This seems like
And
it's
of
a
course, legislative
real challenge you
reform.
guys are having there. And you know, I mean, I'm so happy that you were able to come to share with us tonight, because we're having our own issues. We're going to stay in touch, and because we need to know what is going to happen to all of those Glocks and those shotguns and the ammunition.
Yeah.
Will any of them end up in Barbados? We never know, because it's all connected. It's organized crime, and
Yeah.
it's connected. One
Yeah.
country connected to the next, and we never know. Well, thank you so much, Abdullah, for joining us tonight, and stay safe. Stay safe.
It was my
And
pleasure. It was my pleasure as always.
because I need to know
I'm
what
coming
happened to them.
I'm coming to visit you. You'll see me soon.
Please, yes, let me know when you get there. Okay?
Yes, I'll do.
Thank you.
Right.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Yes. Wow, guys, that's Trinidad and Tobago for you. And you heard what the man said. You know, they had 4 killings last night, and we had 4 shootings and 3 killed, 3 persons dead. Think about it, a small country in relation to Trinidad. Think about it. Trinidad, what's the population? I used to know that out of my head, you know, the population of Trinidad. I can't remember the population of Trinidad. And they're concerned about having 4 murders in one night. We had 3. And another person in the hospital. We're praying. We do pray that that person pulls through. But we're going to go right into talking about what's happening to us here in Barbados. And we have coming up very soon is Zico John. And he has a short time with us tonight, but we're going to jump on in. But Dave, before he does, let's hear from Michael Lashley. Michael Lashley is the minister responsible for crime prevention. Let's say that properly, not responsible for crime in Barbados, and newly appointed. He was elected in February 11th and appointed by the Prime Minister. We do have an Attorney General, which I don't know about you, but I've never heard him have anything to say on this. I guess this is the spokesman. And so it seemed to me that they have put him out there to the public. They have taken him and they have thrown, I call him Minister Hopscotch. He's hopping from one party to the next. Right foot, then a left foot, then a right foot, then a left foot. And they seem like they throw this one out, you know. They throw him out to the wolves. You're going to see the comments under what he is saying. Now, I must say this, that initially when Minister Lashley, Michael Lashley, gave his speech, you could check my WhatsApp, my Facebook page. And I said it on the show as well. I commended him. I complimented him. I loved the strength of what he said. And I believe for crime, you need that kind of strength. So, you know, and I'm seeing again, 1 second, Dave, I'm looking at him on the screen. So I want you to understand that I did not come to the place I'm going to come to tonight, you know, because I am just critical. I wrote, and people, some of you all cursed me when I said, this is what you need. This is the strength you need. It's a good speech, because that's what he did. He had just started. But let's hear him right now. Let's hear him right now. This is now months in, and we've had, oh my goodness, a record number of murders since February 11. Record number. Go ahead, Dave. It's muted now. Not hearing now. Some reason not hearing. In the meantime, guys, we ask you to like and share. Not hearing. Okay, we're having a little challenge, there. But I think I have it here. Let me see if I could play it while Dave. Yeah, I'm not. Let me see here. Having a little challenge, but we're trying to make it happen. No, not happening. Not happening. Okay. But it says Minister of Legal Affairs and Criminal Justice. And I need to get that because it's a new name now. Minister of Legal Affairs and Criminal Justice. Right? Okay. I think we have it right now. Go right ahead, Dave. Same challenge. Okay, let me just summarize. So basically, if you watched it, you would see that he comes across again with this strong stance, and he's trying, and but what is coming across?
On behalf of the government, I wish to express our sincere condolences to the families of those persons who passed away, and deep regret to those who were injured in this recent act of senseless violence in our country. The Barbados Police Service is actively pursuing its investigations into this matter, and will continue that work with focus and urgency in order to bring those responsible to justice. At the same time, it is clear that this apparent state of war between certain gangs of young men has gotten out of control, with retaliation and reprisal now the order of the day. We will not tolerate this behavior. Let the word go out that from this moment, the police and other national security forces will be empowered to use every lawful means at their disposal to bring this situation under control and bring it to an end. I urge every law-abiding Barbadian who love this country to stand with the police service in this effort.
Well, again, I have to say, just before Zika comes on, that he sounds very strong. But this is what he sounded like in February. And the unfortunate thing is, we have not seen anything done. In fact, the numbers have increased. So I don't understand. I mean, you needed to see the comments from the people. I don't know if Dave can. I was trying to do it myself because these comments are something else. Of what the people are saying to him. Where is the teeth? Exactly what you're going to do. What is it that you're going to do? He is just speaking. Almost somebody asked if he's AI, right? And so. But let me bring somebody. Beverly Headley says too much talk, right? Every time this happens, the same statement. That's how it feels like, sir. It feels like it's the same statement, right? That you're making, and you're making these statements. We need to know what's the action, sir. Right? What is the action? So let me bring Zico in at this point. Zico, good night and welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show.
Yes, good night, Marcia. Good night, loyal opposition. It's a pleasure to be here again. How are you doing today?
We are great. We're great to have you. I know because of work, you have not been able, as we've been told, you've not been able to join us as often as you used to. But you would have heard the numbers. At this point, I think I don't even know what the numbers are. Are we at what, 21 or 20 murders already?
Probably over 20. I think, yeah, over 20 or something like that. Yeah.
It's over, should be over 20. Anybody has the correct numbers? And it is just, we are in April. We are in April. Have you ever seen or heard anything like this in Barbados, Zico?
No, never before. All my years on this earth, never before. And this is what really needs to be addressed. I will never point my finger and say crime is a one person's issue or one person's responsibility. I believe it's everybody's responsibility to crack down on what's going on within our country. But there's a level to play, especially when you're put in a position. You're empowered by the people to be in a position to bring some solutions to the forefront. It needs to be more than just PR. It needs to be more than just pre-recorded condolences. It needs to be a level of action. It needs to be a level. This is the steps that we're going to take now. This is what we're looking to implement now. And this is what I'm yet to see. I've been very patient, waiting for some level of solution to be bring forth. This is not getting out of hand, it's out of hand. And the reality of it is this. If we do not put some kind of anti-gang legislation in place to crack down on not just gangs, but how should I put it? Organized gangs, because most of this is organized gangs and retaliations. Let's be frank. And if you don't put something in place that tackles the head of these organizations, if you don't put things in place where things like police custody, protection for those who witness certain crimes, who later come out and say certain things, people don't feel safe speaking up on certain issues. And when you go to court, a lot of these people are getting off because it just goes into hearsay. As I say once again, when we was talking about the forensic lab, he said that they are working on it. I stand to wait and see what's going to happen where that is concerned. So a lot of it is just circumstantial evidence, which is a lot of hearsay. I think he was there, and so a lot of them tend to get off. Most of them are repeat offenders, which either getting bail, committing crimes, and going back out and doing the same thing over and over again. The last show I said that they found a loophole. For the defense attorneys have found the loophole, and for the majority of criminals out there know for a fact, as long as they keep their mouth shut, eventually most likely it's going to get off. Once there's no forensic evidence, or once they don't get it back in time, eventually a lot of things is thrown out. Witnesses disappear, people lost interest in the case, eventually it's thrown out because it seems to be a waste of the court's time. So these things need to be addressed. What are we going to do about it? Saying condolences and saying there's a no tolerance. What are the no tolerance approaches? And this is what we are not seeing. This is what we are not seeing. Yes, coming out here having pre-recorded video footage with you seeming strong is not enough. It is not enough. Today, for instance, I left one of the correctional institutions today, and the sad thing about it, the amount of young men that are in there, we're gonna have to look for different locations so we can have our sessions because because of the space is now limited. And y'all see certain things in the newspaper, but when they talk about the ones that does not make the newspaper, the amount of young men that are filling up our correctional institutions is out of this world. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Conversations are okay. I think conversations and dialogue is needed, but when you're put in a position of to do something about it, you have to do something about it. And this is what I'm not seeing. I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, my thought there. It's very easy for people to say, well, you can't expect that the prime minister to do anything about this. You can't expect the minister to get the right minister of legal affairs and criminal matters to do anything about it. You can't expect the attorney general to do anything about it. But the question, if they can't do anything about it, why were they given the portfolio?
Thank you.
Why were they given that portfolio? And again, if you're just joining, he carries this no nonsense approach, but it doesn't seem like the how is there. or the what is there, or you know, the when, or anything like that. And I think that is very, very crucial. You talked about I'm here reading from this book. I don't know if you had any chance to look at this book. I picked this up after I got ready for the show. You know, because I'm an honest person, and this book, I tell you, if we were to ignore, not be partisan, this book can do a lot for Barbados. Michael Lashley, all you've got to do, read and implement what is in here. This is put together by Verla de Pisa and the Commission on Crime that was put in place by the Democratic Labour Party. And I'm telling you, it's good material. Legislative recommendations. The first thing here, the Commission sees the need for legislative change to implement the following: anti-gang legislation, Zico.
Yep.
Whistleblower legislation. I want to hear your view on some of this. Informant legislation, integrity legislation, a revamped criminal justice system with a dedicated prosecution service, expanding the legal aid system, and victim liaison officers, drug treatment court, and a unified family court, parish councils. The Commission sees a need to decentralize some governmental functions, particularly conceptualizing and implementing community outreach programs focusing on children and young persons, which you are doing some of that. Community mediation. What are your thoughts about these legislative recommendations by the DLP Commission on Crime? It's a report of the Commission on Crime of the Democratic Labour Party. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Even in terms of those suggestions, in terms of what was in the book, it's very immediate, which is very important. It's very urgent. So we can see the effects that would take place and how it would help the situation today. Even if we're talking about the informants and people cooperating.
Informant legislation, yeah.
Yeah. But first, in order for that even to be a success, we have to look at protective custody within Barbados. People who've witnessed crimes, people who could say, well, yes, I know where the guns coming from, I know who distributing the guns. How are we going to be able to protect those individuals who decided to say, well, yes, it's John Brown who has the guns, or, you know, John Brown's who's selling the guns or giving the guns to the young people? What happens then? Is the police going to go back to John Brown and say, well, listen, Zico tell me is yo who's selling the guns? Zico tell me is yo who giving the kids the guns? What's going to happen to me? Then eventually I end up as a statistic, you know, and it kind of continues. So if people do not feel safe to cooperate with law enforcement, if people do not feel safe to cooperate with the judicial system, it's a waste of time. We first must have put these measures in place to make people feel safe again, trying to protect their own communities. So that's one thing we definitely have to look at. I don't know if there's anything in place right now in terms of protective custody in states and other places where it's much larger, have multiple states. It's easier to do that within Barbados when everybody knows each other. People don't want to take that risk. So even we look at the court system, a lot of people do not turn up and witness because they're scared for their own life, you know. Having more police, but also, as I keep saying, having community policing. So, for instance, having police coming in the community, knowing each other by their first names, and you know, having those kind of conversations with the mother, with the young boy, and just talking. You understand? It must start. They're not just you coming in and raiding, not just you coming in and, you know, doing searches and all these different kind of stuff, but actually having that relationship, building back that relationship. Because once you build that relationship, the trust is then recreated. And once the trust is recreated, a lot of intel, a lot of data in terms of what's happening, who's doing this and who's doing that. And it is sad because when I look at some of the same young men who passed, I knew them personally. I knew the same young men personally, and not in good means. We had our, you know, differences in our days and stuff like that. But everybody knew this was brewing, and it just should have been some level of intervention, rather in terms of law enforcement, rather in terms of some community leaders stepping in and trying to bring an end to this. And it's only going to continue. It is only going to continue because right now, as I continue to say, there's shuffling going on within our underground governments.
Yeah, there's just too much happening. The proximity, between some in, I'm speaking generally, law enforcement to criminal elements. It's just too close between politicians. You're talking about situations where you have politicians. It's been reported from where I sit. People call me and they have unlicensed firearm. They are involved with some of the criminal elements. You've heard me say it on the show, and I'm not going to make up any stories to come on here to get likes and followers. It is, the reality is that there are too many of our law enforcement personnel, and also our politicians, and also some of those in government involved. It's like I said, Zico seemed to be dropped out there. It's like I said, I said to Dave, how are you going to use Beelzebub to drive out Beelzebub? Right? Okay, Zico is back. It's how you're gonna use Beelzebub. The Bible talk about Beelzebub, right? Basically, how you gonna use the devil to drive out the devil? And if you have criminal elements in government itself holding hands, Zico, with people, those in the communities, and the police there as a middleman there that they can run to. There's a particular case, somewhere up there in St. George where there was some, and it's been going on for a while, where there was a particular politician was connected to a police station. And therefore, it didn't matter what crime those people were involved in. The police would not even come to check on the people in the community. In fact, sometimes the people in the community, they feel threatened by the police. These are real things that we have to deal with. And so to come with this speech that somebody must have written for him, the way he was reading it and counting, yes. He's reading it like, when you give a child something to read and they're counting. And I know he's an educated man. But it just sounds like words. We now need serious action and truth. We have to be truthful about what we are doing. And as soon as you ask the question, you say to the government, listen, you said that this is what you're going to do. This is what your manifesto said. You said you were ready. They said, oh, so what would you do? But I'm not in that position. And I've just rattled off a whole set of ideas coming from this book and many things you and I have done on this show. So it's not like we're short of ideas. You are involved in some intervention as well in the court system. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so sometimes, mostly when kids get caught up in certain criminal activity as well, they get recommended to us at the terms of mentorship program. I also work along with other correctional institutions as well to work along with them, even for when they leave the prison system, getting rehabilitated again and how to integrate back into society. So these are some of the things I've been doing. Up to last week, I had about 27 or so kids on a retreat.
What's the age group?
So the age group basically was from 13 to 17. Right. So we did some workshops, we discussed some things would be happening in the community. We did some faith-based as well, getting them understanding why they don't like church. How can we make it more inviting for them to, congregate and have it? So eventually we did our own church service. We were supposed to go to church actually, but we decided, no, I'm just going to do the one church service. We had our instruments and we decided, let's just have church service. I led the sermon, and from there, before you know it, everyone eventually came up and they wanted to give their life to Christ. And I think that was an excellent start. And somebody said being deep into crime, some of them said they don't want to leave the retreat because they know when they go back home, they're going to get themselves back into trouble. And it comes back down to the environment all over again. Because when they go into this environment, they believe that they're subjugated to deal with what's happening within that environment. So if you live in one particular neighborhood and another particular neighborhood is at war, you believe it's your obligation to protect your neighborhood or to do what your neighborhood intends for you to do to remain safe. And that's the dilemma that a lot of these young people are in today. So they go to get guns for the protection, they go to get guns because of fear, they go to get guns, and then majority of them also taking drugs. They're popping pills, which suppresses their fear factor, and it enhances their rage and cause them to retaliate in the ways that we're seeing today.
And when you talk to these young people, what do they say, Zico, is the solution for this? If they were in charge, what would you think these young people would say? Or have you ever had that discussion with them?
Yeah, definitely. For them, they just believe that if somebody had opportunity, it always comes back down to opportunity. Somebody giving them an opportunity after school, somebody giving them an opportunity after prison, somebody giving them an opportunity just in general, and a lot of them don't believe that there are opportunities out there for them. The only opportunities that most of them tend to have is to go and cut grass on the side of the road, or or something that they themselves have no intent.
Let's be clear. This is what they are saying to you.
Yes,
that they believe that if they had proper opportunities, then they would not say, for example, they leave that retreat. Their question is, how do I stay out of crime? What am I going home to do?
Exactly.
Is that what it is?
Yes. So for a lot of them was like, yeah, so what we can go back, they can get themselves back into trouble because, they say this environment helped them a lot. Having brotherhood, being able to talk to some people, being able to, because some of the topics we did was very sensitive topics, that young men would not normally talk about. And very emotional topics that young men will not talk about. But it always boiled down to people not having the opportunity, nobody listening to them, nobody paying attention to them, no outlets for them. So even if some of them want to participate in sports outside of school, it's nothing. Community centers, there are no community centers anymore. If somebody decided, when they just want to get away from that toxic environment, leave home and just go someplace where they can meet like-minded individuals like themselves, there's no place to go, So I was trying to hammer home how to get out of certain environments, because wanting to change is one thing, but if you don't have that environment that is conducive for change, you're going to continue to make the same mistakes over and over because the influence is too strong, especially upon these impressionable minds. Too strong.
Yeah. Zico, I'm listening to you and I see the message here. The lack of support for young people is cruel. There is a lack of support. I was speaking last night actually, and been thinking about it all day. Just about how we treat people, especially, they do one wrong thing and we just tear down that particular young person. And I think a lot of them they feel that they experience that. Zico, do you get the parents of these children, those young people that you work with, because you have some at age 13? What's the role of the parents in their lives?
Yeah.
So when we do have
yeah, so when we do have sit down with the parents and we just do, because we just do some parenting workshops, and what I try to hammer home for the parents, don't just try to get your child to obey, but teach them how to think, independently of you, independently of this being observed. Teach them how to think. I think a lot of parents been going up and telling you behave and things like that, blah, blah, but not teaching them how to think, not teaching them how to say no, not teaching them how to, and that is the situation I think we're having as a society, not teaching our children how to think, but to obey someone is watching, some level of authority. And that is one of the problems. The next problem is I don't think that a lot of parents are having conversations, like serious conversations with the children. Like, what are the challenges that you face going to school? What is it that you face within your community? Are you bullied? Do you feel, a lot of them feel fear, do you feel like you're going to die at a young age? But once you start having those serious conversations with young people, you tend to get a lot of the answers. You tend to really start to figure, not just preach them, because most of the times when we start talking to young people, we speak from a place of we know it all. We know it all, and we telling y'all. But a lot of them just ask questions and just listen, not for you to give you input, but to listen. And then when you realize a lot of these kids are in fear, a lot of these nobody loves them, a lot of them believe that there's nobody gonna give them an opportunity. A lot of them believe that the future for them is very dim. A lot of them it's just in a place of chaos and it doesn't have an identity nor purpose.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. You're talking about fear, etc. That a fear that a lot of the young people, they feel, that they experience. Zico, and I was watching the footage of one of the brothers. It says it's a brother, and he's trying to get into the hospital. That's his brother in there, and apparently it seems as though the brother passed eventually. And this young man, he's a big guy, but you could tell he's broken. He's saying, I want to see my brother again. I think he was saying something like that.
Yeah. So I'm glad you touched this. And I keep saying this is so important, because guess what happens now? If you are not taught how to deal with grief, what do you think that brother's thinking about right now? Let's be honest.
That's why I brought it up.
When he goes home and he decides somebody just took his brother's life, rather than just feeling sad, he's filled now with rage. He wants to retaliate. He wants right now 2 or 3 others that with him to say, look, we rolling at midnight, we going back and we can get them back. We get back. And that is what's happening. A lot of these young men do not know how to deal with grief. They do not know how to deal with pain. Most of them are using drugs to suppress it. And when the drugs cannot suppress it, or some of the drugs actually enhancing it in terms of what it is that they're feeling and cause them to release in different ways, but they do not know how to deal with grief. And we do not talk about the pain that our young men are feeling today. And I keep hammering home, if we could deal with the pain, if we could deal with the pain and the issues that these young men feel when nobody's looking, when they're crying in the rooms and when they're thinking that nobody don't love them and they feel abandoned and neglected, if you could really talk about the pain, I guarantee you will see so much young men refrain from the block and go towards somebody who understands, go towards somebody who could be able to relate to them, go towards somebody who's willing to just listen to them, embrace them and say, bro, I understand what it is that you're going through, and this is how we can maneuver with this, and this is how we can make a change, and this is how we can make sure that what happened today don't happen to nobody else. But they're not people having these conversations. They're not spaces for these people to even go and have these conversations. So I can guarantee you that brother going home right now, and he's just thinking about how can I get back for my brother.
Yeah, I saw him and I could feel his pain, and right away I know that is what is in his head, because that's, as I always say, I will never stop letting people know that those are the communities that I came out of, and already it started to click in my mind that what, he is going to, unless God intervenes, the way what are they going to tell him to let him not avenge his brother's death?
And I can give you some more information on that. He also lost one of his brothers either a year ago or a little over a year ago to the same violence. So this is not the first brother he lost like this. So I want you to understand the cycle. I want you to understand what it is that they face daily. When you come back from the army, a lot of people get the therapy, a lot of people get the counseling. You're living in communities where people you were raised with, you went to school with, pitch marbles, with laugh, crack jokes, with, eventually disappearing. How do you think you're going to feel? And the only thing that's driving through your head right now is, listen, we got to get back. We got to get them back. We got to get them back. And that's what we're saying, the retaliation killings. All of these that we're saying right now is retaliation killings. Unless there's some level of intervention where we can really have a serious conversations with these people, there's nothing going to stop it.
But let me ask you, we only have 2 more minutes. Do you think do you have confidence in the leadership of this government, that they have the right arsenal, I'm using a military term, to deal with this situation? Of course, you and I know that it involves all of us. What you're doing, what I am doing, what the churches are doing, what the families are doing. It takes everybody. But there's an element of it that is very, very crucial for the leadership of the country. Do you have confidence in that?
First of all, I think the government needs to stop looking at it as a partisan issue. I think they look at it, if they start to implement some of the issues which was in the DLP manifesto, it's going to look like you're copying their ideas, or so it's a level of pride that is stopping them from wanting to adopt somebody. And if something is good, and if you believe something could benefit your country, you should embrace it. Forget who come up with the idea, embrace it for the better good of Barbados, because it's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect tourism, it's going to affect the economy, it's going to affect us in every single way, form, and fashion. Unless they could put that aside, if that whole partisan nonsense one side and say, listen, we gotta do this here for our youth, we gotta do this here for our future. I have no confidence whatsoever, none.
Yeah, but once it remains partisan, there's a chapter here that says, it says here, I wonder if you could see it. It says justice delayed. That's a huge one that we could come back and talk about, because that is also a part of the revenge killing is also the delayed justice.
Correct.
And that is, guys, if you haven't read this, if you're serious about stuff, you should go through this. We should have a series on this here, along with some of your experiences, Zico, which you didn't send us any videos.
Yes, I suppose I would do it another time when we have more time to actually dive in.
Yes, we need to see those videos, and if you're allowed to show them, that's the other thing as well. Yes. What's your final word to Barbados in a serious way? Because, for us, Zico, for me, this is very serious. It's not just sitting down having a conversation. Yes. It's what we involved in. It's what my husband and I, what he does every Sunday with young men. It's what we do at Praise Academy. It's our life. It's our life. And so this is very serious for me. This is not just a talk shop. So what do you want to say to Barbadians listening to you tonight? You have a minute.
Yes. What I would like to say to each and every single person at the sound of my voice is that we all have a role to play. We can no longer sit back and point at somebody to fix it for us. Because at the end of the day, when we walk down that street, it is us who's walking on that street. It's us whose life is in danger. It's our future's life is in danger. So at the end of the day, we got to find a way to preserve it. And the only way we can do that is if we become active. And what I mean by active is not just having the conversation. Yes, the conversation is important, but finding some way that you can either mentor a young man, mentor a young lady, give an opportunity to somebody who's young, whether it's an internship, whether if it's you decide, I want to invest into a sports program, I want to invest into a youth program, I want to volunteer and just get active, because there's not a lot of volunteers, there's not a lot of role models out there, not a lot of leaders out there. For those who have the churches, getting back out there, not just having churches inside the building, but going out, doing outreach programs, interacting with the youth, not just preaching to them and stuff like that, but teach them as well. Have a sit down and dissect what it is that you're reading, dissect your lifestyle, share how it was you was coming up, be relatable. You understand? Don't think that, man, they're going to listen to you, because all you need to do is plant a seed in one. Plant a seed in one, and that one person you plant the seed in eventually is going to bear fruit. And sometimes that fruit could spread a lot. I must say, like for me, I was blessed when it was coming up. They had Praise Academy, Uncle Weekes, Auntie Marcia. Y'all played a pivotal role that might come in. Whether it was the drama, whether it was the dance, and I had an outlet. And that helped me, because it showed me that there was more to life. I started looking at purpose different. I started looking at my destiny different. I started looking at what I've been through wasn't for me, but it was for somebody else. And how can it turn that note into fertilizing somebody else's future? So everybody has a role to play. You don't have to be part of the streets to say, well, you know what? I don't know how to help. But whether it's donations, whatever it is, people, Barbados is crying out for us to stand up and do something about it. Don't wait upon the government. Don't wait upon certain NGOs. Get up and do something about it.
Yeah, excellent. And thank you for that encouraging word, because sometimes when you are in the trenches and you're working, Zico, you need to hear, keep going. Yes. Because sometimes you don't get that kind of response on the people you're helping, and so I thank you for those kind words from you tonight. I know Dave heard them as well. God bless you, Zico, and I know with your work you're away, but don't be a stranger. We're still here. We're still your family. Okay.
All right.
Keep up the good work. God bless you. Bye bye. Folks, this is serious. This is serious. And the question I asked Zico is one that I'm very serious about. And I have Mr. Derek is getting ready to come on. He's going to give me a thumbs up when he's ready. But this is Dr. Derek Allen is going to be with us, and you got to be ready, because he was part of putting this together. he was part of it, and I know he's coming on to talk about labor, but I want him to say something about the crime situation. He has to before he starts. But I want to just make a little point here that Zico talked about role models. And as I was getting dressed, I thought about setting an example. And the way Dave and I, we've lived our lives, not perfect. We've had 3 sons, but you live your life in such a way that you're setting an example for your children. And I'm wondering, just a question, can you imagine all of those young people who would have seen some of these politicians breaking the law on election day? Anybody ever thought about that? Some of these politicians in the back of a truck giving out envelopes, white envelopes. They know they're breaking the law. How do you think those young people are going to respond to those leaders now? You are now the leaders. But they see you breaking the laws. I'm not calling anybody name. If the shoe fits you, wear it. But if you were breaking the law on election day and giving out thousands and thousands of dollars to some of those same young people, how are you going to now be part of that strategy to curb crime? I was getting dressed and I was thinking about that. Let me bring Dr. Allen. Dr. Allen, are you ready? Good night, Dr. Allen.
I'm ready. And let me first say thanks for inviting me again. And I want to say, and I want to compliment you and your team for week after week staying the course.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, I know that this is not a political party. You are the loyal opposition because in the absence of a formal opposition, you decided, you and your group decided to offer critical analysis of the governance of this Somaliland. And I want to compliment you and your team. And I say to anyone who has objections to what you have been doing, something is wrong with them. And I want to urge you to keep on doing what you're doing. And I promise to be available to you whenever there's an issue that you feel I can speak to. I will come on.
Thank you, sir.
I got the tail end of the last presentation, and I want, as you invited me to say a few words about this crime issue, and to say that your last comment about breaking the law. I went to a church service this morning, and let me on your show use the opportunity to draw words of comfort to the family of Conrad Hines, who passed, who was buried today. A small businessman, an entrepreneur, a hardworking man that inspired me for many, many years. I made contributions to people in Barbados. And Carlton Hines was buried today at the cemetery in St. Peter. And I want to say to his family, you gave us a lot of him. And we want to say thank you for giving him to us. And we are comforted that he's gone home with the master. And I know he used to watch the show. That is why I took the opportunity to say on this show. Yes. Carlton Hines, he was a caterer, an extremely good one. He's gone home, and I know he's resting with his master. Yeah. But listening to the sermon today, I don't want to call it reverend name because I didn't speak to him about using part of what he said at church. But it was about service. It was about giving and doing what is right and setting example. And he made some profound statements today, and I was happy to be in the congregation. But he said that sometimes people talk a lot and they say a lot, yes, but you never can understand what they're saying, because when they say what they say, it is not followed by the action. And I listened to our Prime Minister speaking about democracy at some conference, I think, in Barcelona. or somewhere. So, and she said so much to lots and lots of applause. But those of us living in Barbados cannot feel the message that she's sending in those international statements and so on. And I wanted to pick up with that young man. I didn't get the name of the person on. I came at the end of it. And he was saying all of us have a responsibility. All of us have a responsibility. And I share that. And the young man that just went off made a comment that you should not let pride stop you from using suggestions from other people. And I guess he was making reference to the document produced by the Verla Commission on Crime in Barbados. And it really upsets me that you don't have to say that you're using it, but find a way to pull something from it.
Exactly.
This government is good at changing names. They had the Barbados Youth Service from 1990 somebody. The government came in and changed it now to Barbados Advantage Corps or something like that. So it changed the name from the Blueprint to Rescue Nation to accepting the need for change and pull some parts of it. It is not the Democratic Labour Party's document. It was organized and coordinated by the Democratic Labour Party, but it is a result of in-depth analysis using focus groups, interviews, and asking for submissions from people to help us to put together something that you can read, internalize, and then find some ideas out of. And I want to say that this government continues to act irresponsibly. And today, when those 3 people, it was reported that 3 more died, I have stopped doing the arithmetic. Every day I have stopped doing. I don't know how many people have died for the year. I don't know. I do not care. The arithmetic is getting me sick. And I stopped doing the arithmetic. I stopped doing the arithmetic. Because it seems that no matter how many more die, this government has a mindset that it will talk and talk and talk. Now, I watch the Barbados that we live in go through a destruction of institutions. And I think I've said this already in a paper I wrote. The probation services in Barbados is supposed to be the service that provides deviant young people with a chance to stop, go into a program, and come out of a program with a different approach to life.
Yes.
That is what probation is about. It's a service to catch young people who are heading in the wrong direction, create an environment, and then help them to understand what it is a good citizen is about. That's what a probation service ultimately does. I don't want to call anybody's name, but this government in 2020 set up a commission to examine the probation service and the institutions that provide care for young people who go astray. The commission reported that at the institution in St. Philip for the young offenders, that there was no personal development programs. That the environment there was one of punitive responses to behavior. That there was no care programs. There was no skill-driven development. There was no ideas about alternative behavior. That the program was about punitive responses to bad behavior. It's not Derek Allen's report. It is a former deputy commissioner of police who was given the task of doing
and you said this was in 2020.
2020. Former deputy commissioner did a report on what we used to call before the DODS, but it is now juvenile. And the gentleman said that there was a need for social development programs, but he also that the quality of staff did not reach the levels that would be needed to impact on young people who have behavioral problems. He said that in the report. No, so if you have young people going into programs at the reform school, government reform school, and it's not having any impact on them, and the recidivist levels in Barbados have gone through the roof. All of these young people who you see shooting and killing and getting killed, so all of them have been shooting and killing for the last 4 and 5 years. We're going to new people that shooting the body last week. When you look at who gets shot and who's shooting them, they go a long, long list of presence with the law. So therefore, there is no response to change attitudes, change behavior. And what the government has just, to me, said that we have a lawyer who is good at fighting for criminals. To getting criminals off, we can put him in charge. No. I ain't an idiot. I don't think so. But you bring in a criminal lawyer to deal with the issue of crime and justice in Barbados. I don't know how that makes sense to me.
What I want to come back. I want to come back to that. I want to come back to why it doesn't make sense. But there's something here about this formal report in 2020. I hope we get to talk about labor issues, because this here is so important. So this report, which was a very good report here, seemed like they did some good work. And they're saying that the program was very punitive. They didn't have the skill development and on the social development staff, etc. What did the government do with this report? What did they do with the findings of this report?
This government has done the same thing it has done with all other reports. Put them in a shelf and let them catch moss. Let them catch dust. They do not act on recommendations based on any reports ever handed to them. And they can call 3 or 4 others. But even look at the DLP's report on crime. Any other government, any place in any part of the world would have looked at that document and pull out some of the parts that can be done quickly, and then prepare, even if you do it in a roundabout way, an environment to use some of the findings. But the report was suggesting that you need better staffing. You need better staffing. You need to broaden the activities that young people do. They need to be connecting young people with outreach programs in the community. In other words, take them into the communities and bring them out, and don't keep them up there for like 2 years. Let them go home for weekends and that sort of thing. And also get them involved in activities like sports, culture, dance, and so on. Develop those programs. There was a time when that same school used to play cricket, who were represented in the Barbados Cricket Association's leagues.
Wow. This is these same young people who would have been in that jail then.
It was called Dodds then. It was called Dodds then.
Dodds at the time. I wonder if Barbadians, I want you to listen. This is what he came on here to speak on, but he is so well versed. Miss Maxine McLean always tells me about Derek Aline and Dr. Derek Aline, but you see how versed he is? Listen to what he's saying. He's saying that the government did a wonderful job in commissioning a study. They wanted a report done. And that was the right thing, you know. Right. The problem is that they did not use the findings of the report. This is now, that was 2020. So we are now 6 years. So some of those people would have been probably 14 at the time. They're now 20.
And there's some of the people now who's shooting. Who now shooting?
That's what I'm saying. Yes. They're now older. They've been in it longer, and the findings. And this is why I asked Zico the question: do you think this government has the ability or the will to do anything about what is happening? So tell us the name of the report again. I didn't the exact name of the report. You said probation something.
It was an investigation into the activities at the government industrial school. I don't have the exact name. I should have done it research before it came on, but I didn't come on to deal with this matter. But it was I don't want to call it the name of the deputy commissioner who did, but he was had a team, and he prepared the report. I read the report. And I found some extremely good suggestions in it. And I thought that the commissioners did a good job. My thing that they had me no follow-up.
No
The
follow-up.
government has not acted on the report. And I would like the minister or somebody come and say that I'm wrong and tell me what they have acted on, what they have done.
Action. Yeah, what they have done.
I want to come and say that I'm wrong.
But let me
But
take you
the other
back.
thing I want to say too, the other one thing I say is that there's the Barbados Advanced Youth Program, which was the Barbados Youth Service. I want the government to explain to Barbadians what new programs, what new activities have this government introduced into that program. I worked in that program as one of the early guidance officers in the Barbados Youth Service then. And we started a program of community responsibility for each young cadet. Now, each young cadet had to do 2 days of community service a month. 2 days where you had to go into your community and find an activity to connect you to your community so that you have a sense of belonging into that community.
Yes.
And that program was ended in 1995. Stopped and has never ever been replaced. And the idea was that there was a growing disconnect between young people and elderly people and young people and their communities. That the old days when we had a community that was active in sports and drama and so on, that environment was changing. And we were trying to get young people to go into the communities, identify any activity. But out of that, we were hoping that young people that out of the activity will build up an environment where they will get a group going, a club going, something like that. But that program ended in 1995 or 1996.
Wow.
And I must say I was the architect behind that program.
Wow.
But I saw the need to bring young people into touch with their communities.
Yes.
And I can call some of the names on the young people who were in my cohorts that went on to do extremely good work coming out of the youth service.
Can I tell you that you don't know, but there is somebody related, I believe, related to Dave, and he tells us his story of your involvement in his life and his time at the youth service. In fact, he's a big preacher now. And yes, and I think you probably know who it is. And there's so many young people that they call your name. They call your name and and I was surprised. They said, yes, he was there and he helped us. You know, go ahead.
I was a community leader and a youth leader. I was the secretary of Deacons Club from the time I was about 17. And that was the cornerstone and the inspiration for a lot of the work I did. And I still am a member of the Deacons Volleyball Club. I haven't gone to volleyball yet this season, but I intend to go and support my team and to connect with the young people and keep visible around young people in Barbados. Yes. And when the youth service was started, I was at the Labor Department. I was a Labor officer then. And the former Prime Minister, David Thompson, called and asked if I would go over and help organize the program and get the program and the content right. And it was a guy called Ralph Walker, he's now passed away, who was the director. A guy from the army called Lashley and their Lord. We had, keep forgetting her name. She came from Alexander School. She was a guidance counselor. She got married, so I keep forgetting her married name. And there was about 5 or 6 of us when that program started. But our job was not to get numbers. Our job was to get content right. Yes. Activities right, focus right. And the government came in, changed in 1994, I must tell you, and they went from 100 in 1994 to 200 the next year. And not the quantity or quality staff to dealing with content and building a program. They just wait for numbers. And from then on, that program deteriorated and it has never caught itself ever since then. Wow. And I ask anybody can question me about that. Because that is the area that I feel I am not an expert, but I am knowledgeable about. I have done national youth policies for Guyana, for Dominica, for Antigua, I've trained people in Trinidad and Tobago on development national youth policies, and I was chairman of our national youth policy development program in Barbados. I feel very comfortable that I can speak to those issues.
Yes, that's why I know I was saying I hope we get to labor tonight. But there is a video here that I'm being asked to play this video. Dave, go right ahead, and then we're going to try to touch on labor tonight. But go ahead, Dave.
What happened was Andy Robinson, father of Lel Robinson. He recalled seeing his son's blood-soaked body.
When they get down there, nobody thought about on the beach. Just my son there, dead. The other fellow between the bars still dead, and the other fellow across over there, dead. My son, they don't soap up on his face. I roll him over. When I roll him over, I look at him. I said, man, he dead.
A woman at the scene told the father not to lose hope since his son still had a slight pulse.
She start CPR. I just look, my son dead. CPR, my son dead. Then I still to put Ivan and King just sign the request.
Mr. Robinson says it was at the same location 3 years ago that he also lost another son, 27-year-old Darren Robinson, to gun violence. He says losing his first son was difficult, but the loss of his second son, who was a jet ski operator and businessman, has left him devastated.
Take away all my bloodline. All the boys are taken away.
Mr. Robinson says he had to break the tragic news to Lal's mother, Brenda Robinson, who is currently on vacation overseas. The 74-year-old says his son has 4 children, ages 1, 3, 7, and 8. And it is not easy facing the reality that these children now have to grow up without a father.
Never had sex with my body. Never stabbed my body. Never draw a gun on my body. And that is just hate. That's just it. To see a young man at that age getting through, work hard, call minibus, rent out cars. It's just it. It's just grudgefulness.
CBC understands from an eyewitness the assailants showed up claiming to be police officers before opening fire. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
Wow, that is Derek. I know you said you're trying not to even get you kind of been numb now from it. I'm hearing it's either 23 or 24 murders. Listen to that father. I see you shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
No, I was preparing some notes before he came on this program, and when your earlier guest was speaking, I was making the point that for every one young man that is taken from us at this early age, it is not only his death that is the challenge, is that there are siblings and there is a father and there's a mother, there's a cousin. And I had an experience on New Year's morning when my nephew got shot in his collarbone, and the guy ripped the chain off his neck and shot him, and all that worried me was that he had a 4-year-old daughter, and I was wondering, had he died, how would she have taken that? What kind of levels of trauma would have visited that young lady at 4 years to know that her father was shot? And whenever we're done, we have to ask the question, how are guns getting into the hands of young people when the information reaching me is that you cannot buy a gun for less than $5,000 or $10,000. Bullets cost $100 and $150. How are people who appear not to be working?
$150 per bullet?
Yes. How are they accessing these things? And I wrote in the same document that Werner DePease and her team produced. There's a chapter on people called the untouchables.
The untouchables. Let me look.
The untouchables. There's a chapter on the untouchables.
Yes, it's true.
And the document is asking us to examine who these untouchables are likely to be, because young people are not stupid. young people are going to see through the guys that we put out, that there's a group of young people running about shooting one another for no reason. That's right, the untouchables. Ask Bob to read the book. It's available. And my question is, why can't we get to the who's supplying the guns? I'm not, a guy told me day before, or was it Friday, that it ain't only the guns, it's stabbings, it's beatings. And they drew a case where the man was driving his car and the guy ran in the back of his car, and when he got up to see what was wrong, they beat him and took away his car. This is what Barbados is coming to. And we seem to just decide there's a group of young people, and they can soon kill all of each other, and it's going to stop.
Yeah, that is a thinking. That is a thinking that people say they will soon start killing each other, and then it's going to stop. What is your view on that? Is that correct?
The guy from university that just passed here last week was a bystander. He wasn't involved in a shooting or anything. He was a bystander. And most of these guys cannot shoot. They don't go to range and practice. They sit, look at the television, they see people raising a gun and pow, and they start shooting. They hit a man with 2 shots, they discharge 20 shots. And whoever is around is likely to get one. And my thing is that we have to start dealing with the guns and to deal with the untouchables, those people who feel that they are beyond and above the law, who can do as they please and build a shield around them, and let these poor working class young people continue to go out there and shoot each other for what I call crumbs, for crumbs. But anytime somebody can bring in guns and dish them out, I put that in inverted commas, rent them, loan them, sell them to young people, and then the young people keep terrorizing this community. But I said in a presentation I put on social media that is not the only problem in Barbados. We got young people riding motorcycles and bicycles without helmets, and that's against the law. There's a law that says if you ride a bicycle, you should go on a helmet. We got people riding motorcycles on one wheel with some buffers and mufflers that make people immediately jump out the road when they hear them. Those things are indiscipline. We got parents that don't go to PTA meetings. That's indiscipline too. We got people riding bicycles now on sidewalks without lights, without numbers. Our society has headed into a decadent sort of environment where the law is no longer important. And because the police is short in numbers, and the police has so many different duties now, that if you got 1,000 policemen, their tasks have increased 400% over the last 25 years. And nobody's going to join the force for $2,000 a month. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it because every day they leave their house, they become at risk not to go back home. So we either going to create an environment where police can feel safe, feel that when they go out there, that they're going to be got their I don't know the things they put on, safety vests, and that the pay and the benefits, the jeeps and all the equipment, those things are good. But this government, and going back to that point I made, anytime you want to deal with the level of crime that we are experiencing, you need to get a task force. But not police only, sociologists, criminologists, teachers, all of them together. And it ain't for the 3 months to find a report. It's to consistently look at the trends. And every time a trend comes, you put it apart. Where did it happen? Why did it happen? Who was involved? So it's an ongoing thing. It's not a one-off thing where you know what really freak out me in Barbados? Verla, and her team. And I can't help but call her Verla because she's my comrade. So let me say the pizza. I get so cussing calling her Verla. I know she doesn't mind. But they'll produce a report. the government of Barbados set up another committee to look at citizens' safety and some sort of foolishness. After 6 months, the chairperson resigned, said that the committee wasn't going anywhere. The government appointed the current minister. The current minister, who's now in charge of the same crime. They appointed him as the chairman, and not a single page of a report. Nothing from him, but he's no minister. And
you're saying that Minister Lashley, who is the Minister of Legal Affairs and Criminal Justice, he was put over that commission after I remember that big issue where that person, the chairperson, resigned.
The lady from the university resigned.
She resigned.
Yeah, and he joined as the chairman.
Mm-hmm.
And after 5 or 6 months, not a single word. But what they did then was to put he in charge now the whole thing. And if you don't get nothing or 6 or 7 months, you expect to get something from him. It's ignorance. You can't get anything out of him. And people that said I make ignorant statements and I am very rational in my statements, but when I say things, I always come back and bring the evidence. The same minister that to talk about, he got the evidence. I can bring the evidence. He was chairman of, he replaced the lady from the university as chairman of the committee, the government senate with about nearly 20 people.
Yes, I remember.
And asked him to produce a report from the committee he was chairing. He came out and he's saying they're working on a special program, but he was chairman of a committee that was set up to address the issues of crime and violence. He should not be waiting to do it. He should got information from that committee he was on. But when he goes to show, it's only talk, just talk, no action. And I go back to the Reverend said this morning, many people talk a lot. I hear them, but I don't understand what they're saying because there's no action behind the words.
Yeah.
All the talk and no action, we go nowhere.
Yeah.
And government has to demonstrate that they're doing things to deal with the crime. Yes, and I don't all of a sudden the minister is saying that the police need the resources. We are going to get the resources for the police. Mm-hmm. We've been hearing that now for 5 years. What new ways are they going to get the equipment and the resources? They got no new ways to get the equipment and the resources. It's the same way you procure them. Government got procurement system, you procure them.
Yeah.
And the talk I read today in the paper, the report in one of the dailies today said the government is preparing a response to traffic congestion. And there's a big story in the paper that the government is preparing a response to traffic congestion. You mean after 7 years, you know preparing a response to traffic congestion? This is a soon coming government. Everything's soon coming. And I think Barbadians let themselves down for not holding these people accountable. And I really don't have any time for Mr. Lashley and expect anything from him. He was chairman of that committee. Nothing happened when he was chairman. I don't expect anything to happen. No, he's minister. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is my belief.
Yeah, you know, and it really it's a lot to think about, because when you really think that, okay, well, you were the chairman of it, what is the report? You know, what were the findings? But let me ask you something. You mentioned, you started on a point earlier, and I did cut you off from there, and I made a note because I want to go back to it. Mm-hmm. You said that you see. You didn't use the word conflict of interest, but you find it strange that Mr. Lashley, who was the main criminal lawyer, he was, when you talk to the guys on the block, you know, everybody need the money so they can go to Lashley. When you talk to the guys, I'm serious. Lashley is the man. If you not go to Lashley as a criminal in Barbados, you don't say nothing. So I found it strange. I am thinking, what a position for him to be in. It's a very odd position. But I would love, can you give your thoughts on that, please?
Well, I hinted to that earlier because when the government first set up that program where they used to pay people to keep out of crime. I wrote a piece back on the social media.
The peace program.
I wrote a piece pointing out to the government that program was tried in St. Kitts Nevis. Yes. And it didn't work. Because if you cannot sell guns to Indians and don't expect them to shoot, you can't give criminals money and expect that they may continue with it doing. All you're doing is feeding their habit. No. So you bring on a gentleman who's supposed to be a good criminal lawyer. Okay? What does he know about crime fighting? Is he going to coordinate the same people that you were paying money and bring them in a room and get them to tell him what their secrets are? Most of maybe I'm not saying maybe he may have represented so many of them already that's client lawyer privilege. So he can ask questions. I do not know, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, something is, I don't know. I mean, I raised it on the show, and I remember somebody said, well, give him a chance to see what he can do, because that was the first thing I saw. And he made a great speech, I have to say. And I said, Marcia, change your attitude and watch and see. Probably there's something to what he's doing. And I complimented him on the speech, but that's all it has left.
And I told you, the Reverend said this morning at the funeral, you speak a lot. I hear you, but I don't understand what you're doing. I hear you. You're speaking a lot. I don't understand you because you're not doing anything. You're just talking. Let me see some action. Let me see some. The going down in Haynesville a couple of weeks and open up a police post. So when you open one in the city, he's the minister for the city. Just before election, a man get killed there in Orleans. Open that one, and they got a police post in the Orleans. Open it and staff it. Where you going to Haynesville? Let you explain that to people in Haynesville. Explain it to me. They got a post in the Orleans that want refurbishing and cleaning up and making usable. Open that one. If he's serious, but he ain't serious, that's my view. That's just show. Just show.
And you're entitled to have your opinion, regardless of how he feels about your opinion. Because next thing they say, oh, well, I felt annoyed, or I felt offended, and I felt hurt by your opinion. It's our opinion. You're a public official, and it's our opinion. There seems to be some challenge. We can't see it. That's the problem, Mr. Lashley. We can't, and it's not about your competence. It's about that there's something that is missing here. There is something not adding up. And we're hearing you talk, and you're reading, and it seems, and you're serious. So you put on this, we can see the theater that is coming across, but there's no action. It's not being followed up with anything, because something ain't adding up, and it's a very, so this is not what you came on here to talk about, but let me ask you something. Are we to sit down?
Marcia, look, the paper of June the 6th, 2025.
Yeah.
Said 21 homicides in 6 months. This is June 6, 2025. 21 homicides in 6 months. And the byline, teen cricketer critical while another gunshot victim succumbs to injuries. And that was June last year. We're still in April. We are in April. And it's no longer 21. So I stopped doing the counting. Every time I hear another one, my stomach hurts. And I know why it bothers me, because my nephew could have been one of them, because the bullet hit his collarbone and broke it and went right through. So that could have been another one. And I said that there are others like that where other people got shot, but they did not pass. They didn't kill them.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I am not hearing any semblance of an idea that said this is something fresh. You cannot keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and talking the same language. But he's horrified and then he condemns it. That don't make sense. Keep your mouth shut. You got to give me something fresh, something new. That you had a committee that you were working with. Give me something that came out of that committee. And so while I was chairman of that committee, these are some of the ideas that passed through the committee. And they think they're going to try this one or that one. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And ask them, tell them to take up the Verla de Pisa report. Take up the Verla de Pisa report and read it. I know Mr. Lashley can read. Tell him to read it. And if he wants advice about some of the steps and some of the suggestions, call Verla. She will help him. And if you don't want to call Verla, you can call me. I'm available to help.
Yeah, because this is bigger than party. So I'm listening to you, and we are going to you see. So you're gonna have to come back next week. We can't touch the labor thing tonight because you are a wealth of information. I'm telling you, your Miss McLean is right. She would tell me, Marcia, that man is so smart. You got to get him on the show. But let me ask you something. Here, because I'm listening to you. On Barbados, we're listening to Dr. Allen. Dr. Allen, listen to you tonight. Would you say that based on what you're hearing coming out of this present government, we're not going to see much difference in the crime situation in Barbados? Is that what you're really saying?
Well, I'm saying I'm not seeing any evidence of any new thinking or any new directions. I have not. These problems go to school attendance. Young people not going to school and not going to school early, and leaving school and going and fighting cocks and dogs. That is a little part of it. The lack of meetings for teachers parents that don't turn up, and they got children who are not at school. All of these things are present in our schools. We got families in communities who do not connect with anybody in community except the fellas at the street corner on the block. This government gave an indication of its understanding of a block, but decided they were going to build kiosks on the block to create a culture on the block. Rather than get the people to leave the block and go to the community centers by making the community centers attractive with games, activities at the centers, supervised. And once you get them physically in there, then you can find activities. And I ain't talking about boys that 16, I'm talking the ones that are 8, 9, 10, and 11, where you can influence the ticking. But proper email and internet services in the community centers. Put some of those games that they like to play with the video games in the centers and get them in there at 8 and 9 so you can impact their thinking from early. Out of those little groups in there, they can get a group of them. They say we want challenge, a group of boys from the Orleans, a group from St. James, and they start a club. You got to get them into an environment where you can impact their thinking. You can't go and build something in a block that is already stigmatized. You're taking them into an environment that says free for all, do as you like. And you can't get that in Marlene and her team's head. That is not the way to go. I get up on the bus. And when you hear the school children start to talk on the bus, I want to get off. And when you open your mouth to them, they tell you where your mother get you from. And they talk
why you want to get off? What is it you're hearing?
Because the first thing they want to do is beat you as an old man. You say, listen, you can't behave. You better don't touch me. You better don't ever open. And they say, oh man, you don't get off the bus, why you don't do so and so, and they start. And it's frightening. I've complained. I've gone to schools and complained to head teachers. I've gotten off buses and gone to head teachers and complained for behavior on the bus. And 90% of the time they've gone, a teacher, the headmaster will tell me, look, that boy went home 3 days last week. I can't send him back home again. It's not helping him. But so they're taking a sending to the little school. They got down St. Lucie or St. Peter. He goes and he spends 3 weeks and comes back in there. There's no intervention with his parents. In his community, there is no effort to go and get somebody in the community to see if they can big brother him, big sister him, or whatever. Those are the interventions that we need. And we need to help people like Barbados and those groups to have enough resources that you can get a proper program for these kids that need assistance. We need a program for young parents who are struggling, who are hustling a job. There's no community network like before. So when the kid comes home from school, his safety place is at the corner street with the boys who running drugs.
Right.
Right. So you need to find something to get young people from school who can be active, leaving school, sorry. When they leave school, you can get activity for them. That they can get home when their mother at home, or when their father, or when their big brother at home. When they leave school at 2:30 or 3 o'clock and they go home, there's no supervision in the house. They go where they are welcome.
Yes.
They become runners. They become watchmen. They become lookouts. No, these things didn't happen overnight. This has been growing. The problem has been growing, but we've been looking the other way and finding excuses. We got to stop it now. And we got to accept that those are the things that are happening and find several solutions, because there's no 1, 2, 3, or 4 solutions to this problem. Yeah, each of them has several challenges, and each challenge in itself has another 2 or 3 challenges attached to it. So we got to decipher them, break them down, and try and treat our young people with the attention they need, especially those between 6 and 14. That is my target group. That is my target
14. Group.
Yeah.
age 6 and 14. But you know, Mr. let me just let people know that we did advertise that Dr. Allen would have been speaking on labor issues tonight, but we're in an emergency situation here in Barbados, in my estimation. I don't know if those of you who are listening, if Dr. Allen was listening and hearing from the gentleman from Trinidad, who was saying he was alarmed, they're alarmed in Trinidad because also on Sunday night they had 4 murders. When you think of the population of Trinidad and they're alarmed at 4 murders, and here we are in Barbados and we had 3. Right, so let's be real about what is happening here. The telephone line is open, guys, and you can hear the meat on this program. We're not talking around the issue, we're getting inside of it. You understand? Because we have somebody on this program understands what is going on. Call in 236-7000. 236-7000. Dr. Allen, I can tell you about him. He doesn't know. I have spoken to young people who have said to me, that man helped me at youth service. He wasn't just one of those in charge of the program, but he worked with me. They have called his name to me, apostles. I know somebody now with a huge church, and he went to the youth program, the youth, you know what I mean, right? In St. Philip, I think, is that the one? No, the youth service, Yeah. And they call your name all the time. He's a practitioner. You understand? And that's why the program is so rich. He's not just sitting in a university and coming up with the things, but he has practiced them. While people are going to call in, guys, call in, make your call a WhatsApp call, please. We have 30 minutes of calls. All right. So let me show another issue that upsets me. The government of Barbados in 2017 started to build a facility at Paragon for the Barbados Youth Service. Yes.
It is not finished yet.
Wow.
It is not finished yet.
No, this is hold a minute there, Dr. Allen. This is the same youth service that I'm telling you that all of those young people said how it changed their lives. One of them being Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Dale is one of them, and
Yes.
some others that spoke to me separate and apart from Dale. And you're telling me a successful program like that in 2017, there you guys had started to build a
home. An integral part of the youth development is getting them away from the communities for a period of time and get them together so that you can set proper activities that you can do individual work with them and look and see what a person's problem is. What are his strengths? What are his challenges? He's not leaving there to go back home we used to say, do what we do today.
Mm-hmm.
But you have him in an environment where you can really work with that person, and it is not in a place where he's under punishment. It is not in a reform school. It is an activities-driven school environment where there's no punishment. And that thing started in 2017, and this is 2026. It ain't finished yet. It has not, and they have the kids at different community centers. Some at this center, some at the next center. And one of the most integral parts of the program they're losing. The other thing too is that they used to do job attachments in the private sector. No, the only job attachments these kids do now is in the public sector. So they get a 3 weeks or 2 weeks at the Urban Development Commission or Youth Service or somewhere. But you need them to go out in hotels. That's where some of them will end up working. You need them to go in at Ray Sully or Cole Williams. That's where they may end up working. You need them to go into those areas. Go to CBC. You know, go and work in a law firm. Some of them got the IQ to go and work in a law firm. Not only in the government service where they go and give them a little routine civil service thing to sit down and do. No. And I do not understand why the program has stagnated. It has not grown. The other thing that they should be doing by now is that they should got exchanges for them young people with people from St. Lucia and Grenada.
Wow. Tell me more about that.
The community development department. The community development department used to take away 40 and 50 young people to St. Vincent, St. Lucia every summer.
What year was that?
1990s up to about 2000. The guy who just passed away, Leo Linton, who just passed away last week and was buried, he was part of that exercise. And dear Lord, I could call the names. They were part of those exercises every year. Each community center would find 5 or 6, and they take the whole group to St. Lucia or St. Vincent. You get a different experience, and you get to recognize how beautiful Barbados is, how advanced Barbados is when you go and see how other people live. You learn to appreciate what you have when you go and see other things. All of those things finished, all them things done. I used to go play dominoes and cricket and volleyball. When I was in Deacons, we used to travel. Every other year we go on a tour to St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Antigua. I done with the club. We used to go down, we used to do exchanges with Orange Hill. Orange Hill come up, a bank holiday weekend. The next bank holiday weekend, we going down. And we camp in the center, or they camp in our center.
But so it means that this is, and I want Barbadians to listen. And that's one thing, they always say, oh, all we do is criticize you. How many ideas and also, policies and programs that were in place that this government, this red and not ready government came into power. And what? They stopped them. They stopped them. I'm trying to convince us that they want to curb crime in Barbados.
No, they don't. You have to get young people so busy they ain't got time for crime. You gotta make them busy that they ain't got the time for crime. So much things to do, and I listened to the comments about the performance of the athletes, and I read an article. I think it was in the weekend paper by Bob, coach, and he said, yes, we're satisfied. We did well, but we need A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
We need, and I hope that the government is listening, because we may have done well this year, but as I say, it's in spite of what we have been doing to help our athletes. And I want to ask the government to meet with the cricket academies that they have, find out exactly what sort of help they need, what kind of support they need. If they want them to find volunteers, because they cannot pay everybody, and there are a lot of people who have a lot of time that they would be happy to go to a primary school on the evenings, put in 2 hours from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock with 11 or 12 boys playing cricket or football or basketball. Let me make this comment. When we were playing volleyball for Deacon's Club, and I like to use my examples, we recognized, we had a meeting at a club one evening, and I think it was Peter Vane, who was the coach there, and said, look, volleyball cannot develop in Barbados unless it goes in, we get it into the schools. And each member of our national team was given a responsibility to go to a secondary school and to coach 2 evenings a week. No pay, nothing. You're a national player. One of the responsibilities you have is to go to school. You're building the volleyball image. You're also encouraging people to play, and you're putting your time back to what it's giving you. That was, the government asked me to do it. And then the national team took it up and did it.
Yeah.
Deacon started it, and
hang on there, Miss Dr. Aline. We have a caller on the line. I can hear the caller on the line. Welcome, caller. Go right ahead, please.
Well, good night, Marcia, and good night to Dr. Aline. It is great hearing you and learning of your passion for the youth. Now, there are a number of things that are crucial in helping us to resolve the issue of crime in Barbados. And the first thing we have to recognize is that there is massive institutional failure, particularly the government. The government has failed and continues to fail. Okay, so we have to deal with the question of institutional failure. Then that is followed by a crisis of leadership, because most people in Barbados now do not have any confidence in the government. And I, for one, don't have any confidence in this government. All right. Then another thing that is really, really important is there is a lack of a national vision and a national philosophy of life. We are just like a ship out on the high seas, just floating according to how the wind blow and the waves move and so on and so forth. We do not have a national vision so that we can be better equipped to guide the young people and to keep them on the straight and narrow path. And then finally,
Yes, go right ahead, Nigel.
Yeah, finally, I think what we need to do is to suspend migration into Barbados, particularly from the east. Okay? Because I think we have lost control of Barbados after we noticed unchecked migration into Barbados, and the minibus culture is as a result of others coming into Barbados, sabotaging the transport board and flooding the market with a lot of minivans. So we are not going to solve our problems until we can resolve these issues, particularly the idea of migration, because before, when I was a boy growing up, we never had these kind of issues. And these are things that started within the last couple, a decade or so, and we have to do something about these things.
Yes, yes. And you said three things: institutional failure, you said leadership or governance. I can't remember how you phrase it, but there's some concern there.
Institutional failure.
Barbados.
Institutional failure.
Yes.
Crisis of leadership, vision, no vision or philosophy.
Sorry?
Right,
Migration
crisis in
from the
leadership
east.
and migration. No, Dr. Allen is just repeating. Remember, I said you're not going to be able to hear him.
Yeah.
All right, but thank you so much, caller. And Dr. Allen is going to respond to you, but it's you can hear him after you hung up.
I would like to give him.
Yes,
I like to ask him to come at the head of the class, especially with the question of institutional failure. I've been saying for the last 5 years. Now, there is not two institutions, and I want to define institutions as practices and systems that we develop to help us choose solutions or to design and to implement programs. I think I just now touched on the institution of probation and the probation services. The welfare as the institution in Barbados, and I say an institution, not the system. Education, not as a system, as an institution. What does it do for Barbados? What does it do for Barbadians thinking? Community development. Each one of them is in need of repair. I always have to repeat myself that the government needs to sit down with the social and economic planners in Barbados and look at the functioning of those services that we provided that are designed to help guide behavior, help form ideas, help craft systems, help implement programs. Too many of the things in Barbados are all over the place, no direction, seems to be no planning, seems to be no objectives. You can't measure from left to right. I was coming to the talk about labor and the discarding of 2,200 people from the public service between 2018 and 2020, and the public service numbers going back up, but service ain't get better, it get worse. The public service as an institution in Barbados has been fractured, and I do not know if you would ever get the public service to function the way it should function. I know you came to then deal with that, but we'll come back next week and deal with that. But if you look at, even when they talk about the youth service, it mash up. Probation, mash up. Community development, mash up. Welfare, mash up. Call it mash up. Vocational training board that used to create artisans and people, encourage young people to go into carpentry and masonry, mash up. Everything in Barbados, mash up. And the Prime Minister on the fight pay smuggling with another loan. She only all she wants is loans. Everything mash up. Agriculture, down the drain. Manufacturing, down the drain. And people laughing about the 30 love and a bunch of rubbish. And this country spinning in mud, going nowhere fast. And people, they don't seem to understand that. The bus service, poor. Road conditions, poor. Housing out of the sky in terms of the prices. You got to pay $160 to rent a one room now. $160 to rent one room in a house and share a toilet and a kitchen in Barbados. And all is well for Morley and her crowd. All is well. Try to going back to school tomorrow, and it gonna be hell in a hurry tomorrow to get to work. Tomorrow again, children gonna get school late, people gonna get work, and the minister and the people say today that they're no planning to do a thing, no planning. They're no planning to address the congestion. I drove yesterday. I went up to Sears Court, and from the time you leave Oyston, there's a road that takes you up to Sears Court, up in that area, Chancery Lane. I don't know, I think they got word in Barbados worse than that. Awful. You gotta be ducking from potholes to the next one. You gotta drive through potholes to find good road. That's what we gotta do in Barbados now. Everything was to change. We were supposed to have a paperless world in Barbados. Paperless. You going today? You want to get a form to register business. You going for the site to register business. You put in your application online. 7 months and you don't get called. And you could have gone up the business place once before and you're going to see officer. The officer, you fill out the form, and in the next 2 days, if you don't hear you call it, he can tell you come. Now you do a form online and you take 3 months, 4 months before you get somebody call you and tell you to come and hear them. I mean this place. Don't see like saying authority, don't go up there.
You know,
the land registry, don't go up there.
Institutional failures. Yeah, you're talking about this. I mean, Nigel, you have touched. I mean, that's it. You know, it's a very serious thing. We have a caller here. So he's gonna good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show.
Blessed good night to you, Marcia, and your guests.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I've been listening very attentively, and I must say, I believe that we, as a people, we need vision, and I don't mean television. The Bible says, without a vision, people perish. And there's also a part in scriptures where Paul addressed the Galatians, and he said, "O foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you?" Now, I am saying, I believe that anytime that a country could be taken down the road that we've been down, and we still vote the same people in that took us down that road, we have got to be bewitched. Imagine if I had taken our flag and done what our leader did to our flag, I would be in prison. But yet still, we are supposed to accept this thing as norm and put back in a PM who did this atrocity to our country. Imagine having, I mean, we are talking, we are in an emergency. I remember sometime back, we were told that there are no gangs.
Yeah.
How the gangs get the guns now? Obviously, it would have had to start somewhere. But we can't be living in denial. Imagine, I saw a video today of the COP, we insisting that those who were responsible for causing the death of these 3 men turn themselves in. You know, he's pleading with them to turn themselves in. You know, I mean, the police was this, I would say this, by RPM. And people do not see that as an insult to the same persons who are supposed to be protecting us. Imagine you're going to invite criminal elements, Supreme Parliament, to be under a security guard by the same people that you are dissing, and nobody sees nothing wrong with that. And then we want to know why we are in such a crisis, such an emergency, where every day some child, some young man is losing his life, and then we are told now that we have a minister responsible for crime in the Prime Minister's office. Everything is coming from the Prime Minister's office. People are traveling on the taxpayers' backs, and nobody is saying, look, let's arrest this whole situation. Something has definitely got to be wrong when people are still going to be supporting a government that seems not to have a vision for its citizens, but just feel good to know that they're jumping up and being red in the garden.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, caller. Dr. Allen will respond to you after you've hung up. Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
and to the other caller that I missed, yourself, you were calling 3 times. We want to hear you, so please call back. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Allen.
No, I as an active member of the Democratic Labour Party, I try not when they come on this program to question people's motives for voting and so on. People got a right to vote for who they like and that things.
Yeah.
So I don't really get confused. I've been in politics from the time I was about 14, and I understand how the politics will turn tide and tide will turn and so on. But the confusion I have with the lack of effort by the government, it don't look to me as though they are making the effort to deal with the challenges. All we get is talk. If you see things like the government was bringing in buses, got a gift of 10 buses from China, and then it said 20 more were on the way, and people listen and believe them, and then they come, and I don't say anything at all. Then just say, well, things tight, and we want to make do for the time being, but don't say that they're coming, and 6 months later they come. I made a point last week, the lights down on the highway 2A. Since years now by election, they were on a boat coming from China. They must be caught in the right there now, in the homers.
Straight up homers.
They must be caught there now. Since last year. I mean, we the government got to demonstrate. Look, this is what we're doing. Don't tell me we can be doing. This is what we are doing. There was supposed to be 3 road packers with let's call them. You take the patchy holes. That had 1 and 3 more were coming.
Mm-hmm.
They may come.
Yes, I remember they were promoting the one just before elections.
I mean, and just say things, and therefore people don't become disillusioned and begin to accept what we have in Barbados as normal. Everything in Barbados is now normal. This is the norm in Barbados. Lack of effort, and it comes from the top straight down to the bottom. to get to work early now is not a big thing. Because you got to excuse the bus service. So, right? Or the congestion on the road. So the employers must know that the bus service bad and that there's congestion on the road. And when you go and line up, I remember license authority today, when you go and line up and they tell you that the people going to lunch for 2 months, they go on for 2 hours, come back for 2 o'clock. And you go on there at 20 minutes past 12, come back for 2 o'clock. That is normal. That's no normal in Barbados.
Yeah. We have another call. The callers are calling in. Good night. Welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show.
Marcia, good night. How are you doing?
Doing great. We have a few minutes. I'm glad that you were able to call in. So go right ahead. Good to hear you.
Yes, it's been a while. I was traveling. You know, what bothered me about Barbados? Barbados have these 3 societies. We got a group of people, the white people, the Indians, those that get out of the crab barrels that are very silent. Don't the crime affect those two, sir? They're not saying nothing. And then listening to the COP today was an embarrassment. He's begging the criminals to come in or go and get a lawyer, and I know what I mean. What's going on in Barbados, man? Barbados is becoming, sorry to say, a banana republic. There are no laws in Barbados no more. You know, and it's sad and it hurting me in the diaspora. We want to come home and we can't do nothing because these people that are in charge are destroying our island every day. As you know where the criminals are and the gangs are, the defense force and the police should be on them before he made a speech. You know, and that's real sad. And we have too many people in Barbados that are silent. Sir, I respect your outspoken word. I'm like that myself. And we need more people to speak out. People know what's going on in Barbados, but they ain't saying nothing. You know, and at this stage, you know, we got these societies in Barbados. Those are them and the idiots that walk about shooting up people. What people in Barbados should be outraged. Indians should be outraged. And all those people who went to this school, that school should be outraged. But they didn't say nothing. They let them Barbados go down in a hole because either they are part of it and know what's going on, and they ain't saying that because of the touch the apple tree, it can shake too many apples and the wrong apple may fall out. Have a good night, people.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
You know, the truth is, so many Barbadians appear to have the belief that they can't open their mouth, because if they open their mouth, they're not going to get something that they want done. Whether it is to get a toilet pit repaired, whether it's to get 2 windows put in your house, if you open your mouth and the government hear that you criticize them, you can't get it done. Yes. If it's getting a job and you open your mouth and you criticize the government, you can get it done. And again, and why I say that is a perception. It's because I worked at Urban Development Commission, and I went in there in 2009, and they gave me a letter. A letter came from a minister. I said, "No, I want a letter from nobody."
Dr. Arlene, just hold. Don't forget your thought. Right, there's somebody who's been trying from St. Lucia trying to reach us. 1 second. Good night. Welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show.
Good night, Marcia. How are you doing? It's Jackie.
Yes, I noticed the St. Lucia number.
All right. Now, Angela Seeley is a prominent international bodybuilder. She started in Universal Health Club way back when, and she was also a trainer. She's an international bodybuilder. Now, I was a swimmer for Barbados back in the day, many, many years ago, when we used young Foyt swimming pool. What I will say now is that what was done to the swimmers in this time was disrespect, gross disrespect by the government of Barbados. Because not only did they not have a swimming pool to train in, most of the parents paid everything for those children, and they had to use the Ursuline Convent swimming pool. Not only that, corporate Barbados does not give them the sponsorship that they so rightly deserve. We had one young lady in the 400 medley relay, and her name is, she's a scout. And she brought that relay home, half a length of the swimming pool ahead of everybody. They won the gold in that relay. Barbados got many golds, many silvers, and many bronze. They were not even in Barbados to release any tribute from any government. They were still in Martinique at the time. What tribute did the swimmers get? None, Marcia. And what I will say on this is that I'm in St. Lucia because I had to run out of Barbados because I was going to be taking the mental. That I will discuss with you at another time and not now. Now, the thing is that swimming and athletes and musicians are ones that bring unity to people across the Caribbean and wider regions.
Yeah.
And the quicker that people realize that the music and the arts you're in, so you know well what I'm talking about, is what brings the unity and the togetherness. And sometimes mixed marriages from different cultures. Though you know as well as I know, I lived in Jamaica, Antigua. I'm now living in St. Lucia. I've lived in Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, and yes, and quite a number of regions. So I'm what you would call a Caribbean woman. And yes, for all intents and purposes, I'm now living in St. Lucia. Now, the thing is with this, Marcia, is that Barbados, I'm going to say something and I may get licks for it, but when all these red parties are in Antigua, everywhere, all these red parties, everything goes downhill and downhill fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening. And you have the unions. Am I mistaken in saying that no crop has started as yet? Because I've not been in Barbados. I've been in and out of Barbados and obviously not listening to crop as much as I had to deal with what I was dealing with in Barbados at the time. Now, the thing is, isn't it supposed to be the end of the crop? The end of the crop now? Or April to be the end? And we haven't begun, or am I dreaming it?
Around to July.
Dr. Allen, when you come off, he will be able to.
You know, we normally used to start at the end of February and finish in July.
We can't hear you yet. Go ahead.
No, it used to end around July. June or July when the crop would end.
And they
That's when crop over was normally end of July.
That they had with no major swimming pool and to have to use the Ursuline Convent swimming pool, which is not an Olympic size swimming pool, I might add.
And they still did so well.
Marcia, they did amazing. Those children did amazing. I mean, some of the times were broken. All sorts of records were broken. I mean, Debbie Stout broke her own time. Wow. And I know she did. All right, I'm a swimmer, so I know what I'm saying. I knew some of these swimmers in there. I know them. And I know what their parents had to pay to get them to Martinique. They didn't have any help.
Yeah.
They paid thousands.
I'm gonna call you on that and do a feature with the swimmers, okay? Thank you so much for calling. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Take care, Marcia.
And keep listening from St. Lucia.
I always do. Take
Thank
care.
You.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes. Bye. Yes, Dr. Allen, if you could remember what you were saying before, but go right ahead. We have 3 minutes.
Okay. I was just responding to the caller before the last comment about people not speaking out.
Yes.
But an environment has been created in Barbados that people believe that the only way they can get anything done in Barbados is that they must go through the government. If you want a repair upon your house, if you want help, you got to get a letter from a minister. People got all 30 seats, but you still got to go to a minister to get a letter to take a government service to get help. That is the environment in which people operate. And that when it was at urban, I ain't want to see a letter from nobody. The technical officers tell people come in, do the interviews, go and visit people's house, and help the people. I don't want a letter from nobody. For when it was the DLP was in office or the BLP was in office, I don't want any letter from any politician. The letter, the officers that are paid to assess people's needs make that determination. And this idea about get a letter for everything you want, you go get a letter from it, go and get a letter from your MP and come back. It's sickening. And it goes through, they got influencers, they got contractors, they got consultants. And that's why nothing is happening in the public service. Because people waiting for instructions from the politicians.
on the politicians.
And Barbados is going around in circle. And the other problem is that all of the politicians really on the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister in Barcelona or in Timbuktu.
Right.
So Barbados is going nowhere fast.
Yes,
So the people waiting on the representatives, the politicians, and the politicians waiting on the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister is overseas. What is going to happen?
Listen, would you believe it's a minute to 10? And
Wow.
you know, I would love to, as we close, I want to say something to Barbadians, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Dr. Allen. You know, Dave had a little flyer up before, although we have to play the Commissioner of Police, but Dave, just put up that little flyer that you had before. And this bothers me. They love to say I wasn't born here, but I feel a love for Barbados that I know that came from, it's divine. And I am very upset that I went and did a research online today and realized, Dr. Allen, that we have not had proper hero celebrations in years, sir. In years in Barbados. And here it is again. Yes, they are going down to Barclays Park. We look at the murders and all of what we're happening on Heroes Day. You think that we should be having another FETE on Heroes Day, Dr. Allen? When you consider all that is happening, do you think the people of Barbados should rise up and say, we reject this on Heroes Day? What are your thoughts?
But you have developed that culture among a crowd of Barbadians, really short-term happiness. It's all they look forward to. So I always remember that I used to go up in Black Rock near the Liberty, a dance hall called the Liberty, and every Friday and Saturday night, people who couldn't even afford to go anywhere would make sure they could dress up and go to the Liberty so they could forget all of the problems they had in the week. The only problem is that when you come out the Liberty now, the Saturday night, when you get home Sunday, the problem is still there. But Barbadians have now been fed this euphoric feeling. Let's get a FETE. Get them some food, get them some short necks and some long necks, make them happy. They can forget the problems, and then we try and very soon keep one in botanical gardens now for May-Day. So you got another one in May-Day and another one, and then you get it into crop over. So the good feeling will continue, and the water bills and the light bills, and then the people, the water works said they find that when they cut off people water, they don't put the back on, so the one don't get any water from. So that is not an accident. That is deliberate.
Yes.
It's not accident, and you can bet the May-Day used to be parades with workers with their placards and their banners. Now you go to the botanical garden and you FETE.
You FETE. And Heroes Day is not about FETE. Heroes. You go down to East Coast and you FETE.
FETE, yes.
You know, and that is it. And so I want to say to Barbadians that this is very, very key to what is going on, because if you could take you are the government, and you are going to take an entire holiday known as the Heroes Day for the entire country, and instead of doing something national, you do something partisan. That is very. I don't know how to even put that in language. I feel a lot of emotions about that. You know, I feel you're ripping something from me. You're robbing me of something. You know, and as somebody says, you're seeming to want to elevate Mia Motley as a hero in Barbados when we have all these other heroes. And I'm saying to Barbados, reject it.
Yeah.
Reject it, Barbados. This is your country.
Marcia, you may not know, But in 2019, a popular Barbadian band put out a song called Mortley, the greatest ever, better than the rest. It only lasted about 3 days. They put it off the air because it was so premature that in 2000, they won the government in 2018, and by next, I think it was same year or early in 2019, a popular Barbadian group put out Mia Mortley, the greatest, she's better than the rest. It lasted 3 times by the airwave, and I don't know who told them to put it off. But from the time she became prime minister, a group of people in Barbados determined that this lady somehow is more special than everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know who, but somebody.
And that's what is happening. And your Heroes Day, your history, that's one of the things that they do, when they are seeking to create this, it's almost like they're presenting a different world to us. And so they are removing our history. And this is part of what is going on. And I'm wondering, why aren't we seeing this? They are seeking to remove our history, right? And rewriting something else so that we now associate Heroes Day with a picnic, with food and dancing and FETE. Wow, that is serious. That is serious. But Dave, we will have to play the Commissioner of Police. We did allude to him, speak about the speech. We might have to do that on Wednesday night. But I want to take this time just to say to you, let me move this because we don't want to promote that on that day. Actually, Dave, I sent you another flyer where we want to promote a day, a pause. We want to promote a pause, and it's an idea that I had, and Nigel called last Wednesday and cemented it. But it's a pause, where we just pause
And reflect, yes.
Dave, if you can put that up really quickly, we'll go more into it on Wednesday, 6 a.m., 12 noon, and at 6 p.m. again, 6 a.m. with your individually, with your family. At 12, you take 2 minutes. 1 minute for the heroes to be still, and 1 minute for those who have died, those we've lost. And at 6 o'clock, you gather in your community, whether at a church, wherever, or just in your yard or wherever, with others, and reflect. I say Barbadians don't go, but you know what? People love the free food and they love the FETE.
It's a new culture. It's a new culture.
I don't know if Dave is seeing that and he can put it up. But as we close, we just take one last minute and say one last thing. I know this had nothing to do with what you came on, so that means you owe me another show.
I had prepared something on the state of labor relations, and in particular the need to look back at the Employment Rights Act. I think I did a piece, I think I sent it to you, on the Employment Rights Act, and the need to go back to it and to try to include the issues of migrant workers and so on, and some protection for them. But we can deal with that next week.
Yes, most definitely. Well, sir, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I learned a lot. I'm writing, notes. It's like back in the old times, when Caswell and Maxine McLean and all that. I feel like I'm a little sponge right now, and I'm going to go to research some of the things you spoke about.
Right.
And I really honor you and thank you. And I could see why Mr. Thorne had you, in the lead of the opposition office, as you were the executive director.
The assistant, yes.
I could see definitely. I wonder if people realize that, because this is the direction Mr. Thorne was going down.
Definitely.
He had somebody like a Derek Allen there that is a nuts and bolts man that can get the work done. And sir, I just want to thank you for the honor of, being in your presence and for what I'm able to glean from you. Thanks to Miss McLean, who kept telling me he's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. You got to get him. So I'm happy that you're here. Guys, as we go, pause and reflect. Barbados will pause on this day.
Thank you.
And we are going to pause on the 28th of April. We are going to pause. We must pause. We reflect or we pray. You might not be a person who pray, but you sit and reflect at 6 a.m. Go down to the beach, sit down. Get under a tree, get outside, kneel at your bed, whatever you do to reflect or pray. At 12 noon, let there be a national pause. 1 minute to think about the heroes, another minute to think about those who have fallen, those who have died. And at 6 p.m., you gather, right? You could light a candle, you could do something, but come together, in one way or the other. It could be online. We're thinking about doing an online gathering on the 6th, but we come together at 6 p.m., okay? Thank you all for joining, and see you.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you, Dr. Aline. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Folks, listen, Wednesday, it's our in studio, and the guys are there already. I'm on the show, and Rahman is sending me all kinds of things for the show. They are getting ready. We're going to have an amazing time with those young men on Wednesday. Please join us. Hopefully, Miss McLean can join us. Because of something, we can't really say everything on air, but we'll see if she's able to join us. God bless you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Zico. Thank you, Umar Abdullah. What an amazing show. Very, very important show. God bless you. Great show, Digital Island. Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Cost of living got me catching hell. Yeah. They're trying to patch the patches in the roads and delivering plenty lies by the loads. They now promising beach access when all along it was causing us stress. We don't want the bees no more. We don't want the bees no more. This pause and walk like government has to go. Yeah. We saying please no more. God knows we can't take no more. These inefficient imposters have to go. Yeah, the bees running, the bees balling, yeah, cause their internal polling was very bleak. The bees hurting, some of them now praying, yeah, cause on governance they've been very weak. So we're saying bees no more. We telling the bees no more. We will use our X to settle the score. Yeah. Tell the bees to go. We can't take them anymore. Cause for the borrowed billions, there's nothing to show. Prime Minister, you've called the election, but you still haven't answered our question. What's the latest on the Constitution? About the transport board, you ain't said not done. Why your ministers can't fix the hospital? And when will we get an auditor general? What about the issue at Savvy on the Bay? And will we ever see the Hyatt building bout here? Should we hope to hear about the Hope money or how much Carafesta cost the Treasury? Yeah. Look, Prime Minister, we know that you know your administration has been extremely poor. They're trying to hold on to your coattail, a coattail that is now very frail. So please go, please go.